Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Red Devil Experience. My name is Eric. Hope everybody is doing well. It's been a couple days since we last talked to each other. A lot of news. Getting ready for the Manchester Derby tomorrow, of course. Michael Carrick's first match in charge as Manchester United head coach, because apparently he hasn't been given the title of interim from the club, so he is actually just the head coach until the end of the season. We're going to talk about, obviously the Derby. We're going to have to talk about, obviously, the Glazers, Ineos. We've got some transfer updates. I've got some opinions about that. We've had more ex-legends, players of the club coming out, talking about a bunch of different things. Scholes and Nicky Butt, once again, on their podcast, with what I view, and many others, quite rightly, I believe, disgusting take on Lisandro Martinez. I think it's stupid, idiotic, not needed in any way, and it's it's not even like, it's just them talking crap, really. There's no analysis behind it. There's no nothing. Actually, they've been proven wrong about what they were saying, so we're gonna get into that as well. It's gonna be a jam-packed show, so make sure you're getting your questions in, your thoughts, your opinions in the comments, whether you're watching live or you're watching after. If you're watching after, drop them down below the video. Make sure you're smashing the like button. Get that done, people. It's very important to the channel. Helps us grow, helps more Reds become part of the community and part of the family. So make sure you smash that like button. It is greatly important. And we're trying to get to 3,500. It'd be nice to just get to 3,300 right now. We're at 3,280 subscribers. So if you enjoyed the content, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell icon so you don't miss a live and you're up to date. I see Lucky is in here right away and Axe is here as well. Usually I keep this very structured. I don't really know where to really start today because it's been a few days since we talked, and there's been a lot of things that have sort of developed. And you know what? Maybe we could just start with this, and we could just start with the Nicky Butt and Paul Scholes thing, and then we'll start rolling into other things. Lucky is going off about Ugarte leaving and Ruben Neves or James Garner, Glazers Out, and all that stuff. Access high. Yeah, Glazers Out. We're going to get into a nice big discussion. It's going to be a little bit later in the show, but it's going to be a big main part of the show. We're going to talk about the Glazers. We're going to talk about Ineos. We're going to talk about Jason Wilcox and Omar Barada. And what's been coming out of the club, because they're still trying to spin a lot of PR. And I almost importantly forgot, obviously, the title. If you don't know, there is a movement that has been started by the 1958, and they are the ones that have been leading the protests for the last couple of years. I fully back them. I fully support them. I hope they succeed. In the past, they've had some people part of that group that were considered online fans, not real fans. But, they've really encouraged me. They've really encouraged me because the other day I went on social media and I made a call and I tagged in all the massive creators that I possibly could tag into one tweet. And I told them, it's your responsibility to lead this. It's your responsibility to unite the fan base. Whether you want the responsibility or not, the responsibility comes with the massive platforms you guys have gotten. And people listen to you, they respect you, and you guys need to put your egos and your differences aside if you actually give a shit and you actually want change. Well, my tweet didn't do anything, but coincidentally enough, literally the next day, all the major Manchester United aggregator accounts, all the big platforms, not all, but a lot of them, they all put out a statement in concurrent with the 1958, talking about coming together, unity, that we need to be united. And for me, I was very encouraged because for the 58 to reach out to these people, to make a unified message, to put that out, and at least come to an agreement on that and put their differences aside, that's a nice start. It's a really nice start. I'm happy that they've decided to go down that path, and I look forward to seeing, what else they're sort of going to try and do and what they got planned. But we'll talk about that a little bit more. Access, Scholes, and Butt are legends, but they need to be more encouraging and less critical. Well, listen, there's a deeper discussion here about critical and encouraging. And I think you can make arguments for both sides. But let me play the video. Yeah. And we'll get back to the 58, the protest, and all that in a little bit. Let me play the video. And we'll listen together and we'll react together to what the majority of the fan base are highly pissed about. I'm upset about it because I think it's stupid and idiotic of what they said. And I just think it's disgusting because there wasn't a reason for it, and it was actually false. So here's the video, okay? Let me get this up. Let me get this running. All right, ready? I'm going to hit play. I'm going to let the whole thing play because it's about 43 seconds. I think we should be good. I don't think YouTube should ban us for this. So, all right, here we go. Ready?
New manager kind of lift. I can see United beating City.
I could see him beating City with Amarin. I don't think they're anywhere near what they have been. They're amazing standards to get to. Don't get me wrong. They're just something about them. I still don't think they're quite right.
If they get the injuries back, with as in like Maguire, De Ligt, and them kind of players, we've got a chance. But I just feel with the younger players at the back, they've done brilliant. By the way, Heaven's been unbelievable. To be fair for his
and
age.
They are only young
kids.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't like to see him against Haaland.
Martinez against
Haaland.
You need De Ligt and Maguire back for that.
Pick Martinez up and run with him. It'd be like, see a dad after school.
He'd score, then throw him in the net.
Running down the road like with a little... that's what it'd be like.
I take it back, everyone. He's got a point.
And that guy at the end, I don't even know who the guy is in the middle, to be quite honest, the guy that's in between both of them. He does not got a point. You're an idiot, okay? And what they're doing is they're talking shit. They're literally just straight talking shit. It's absolute nonsense in what they said, okay? And it can be proven with one simple fact. You don't even have to go into too much detail. In the last 6 games that Lisandro Martinez has played against Haaland, Haaland has failed to score in 5 of them. So Haaland is not picking up Lisandro Martinez, scoring a goal and throwing him into the net. He's not bullying him. Lisandro does quite well. It's such a stupid idiot, backed with 0 facts, just sitting there talking shit about a player for no reason when we're about to go play a derby, when the club is on its knees, when we're in disarray and we're in a mess, and you decide that you want to have a conversation on a public forum like you two are talking in private and just chatting shit to each other like friends do. It's so stupid. And everybody is pissed about this, and rightfully so, and everybody's calling that out, and rightfully so. It's so stupid. Somebody tried to call it analysis. They said it's poor analysis. That's not analysis. That's not even close to analysis. That's literally just sitting there with your mate and just talking bullshit. And the problem with sitting there with your mate and talking bullshit is that you are legends of the club or former players of the club, and you have a big voice and you're on a big platform, or the internet is your platform, and there's no need for it. There's no need to be saying that. It's so nonsensical. It doesn't make any sense. The shit that they said is not even true. I can't do that. I would be embarrassed to do that. I would be embarrassed to go on a podcast and say some shit like that. Number one, because I want Lisandro to do good, and we need Lisandro to do good, and we're literally about to go play them, and we need the butcher to put the bottom of his cleat into Haaland's face, is what we need to do. Not the other way around and talk about Haaland is some sort of machine and he's going to pick up Martinez like he's a grown dad and Martinez is a little kid and he's going to son him. And this is just a small fraction of what goes on. Now, the thing is, I think these are all distractions. So we're not going to waste too much time on this. I think right now, all this sort of stuff is distractions to the United fan base. Okay, Gary Neville was on with Roy Keane on the overlap, talking about Carrick, talking about things, and the people in the fan base are getting upset about this, and they're having a go at Gary. And what's happening is your time, your energy, your thought is being taken away from the Glazers. It's being taken away from Ineos. And you're arguing with people in the United fan base over shit that's not really going to have an impact on us. But I'll break that down even further. Axe says, yeah, the sensationalism gets views. Views translate into money. We all need money. You can understand what they did. I can understand that they're morons. You know, I can understand that they're idiots. That's what I can understand. That's what I understand them to be. You know, if you want to act like that, then I have every right to call you an idiot and a moron. I don't give a fuck what you did as a player. I don't care if you won 12 Premier League trophies. I don't care if you won 0. You want to act a certain way, we have the right to deem you as idiots, as morons, as whatever we want, because you're in a public forum and this is what you're doing. So I don't care what they're doing for money. You want to do things for money? Go ahead. I'm going to not respect you then. You know, if you want people to respect you, if you want people to have a real conversation, if you want people to accept you as somebody that's real and you want people to take you seriously, then don't do things like that. If you want to do things like that for money, go ahead, do it for money, but you're not getting my respect and you're not going to get a lot of other people's respect for it. So, and that's what it is. So, you know, do you. If you want the money and you listen, you make the money more important, go ahead and make the money more important, but just know that the repercussions that come out of that. Just know the repercussions that come out of that. And, you know, Maguire and De Ligt, they're not necessarily going to save us. We have bigger, we have bigger problems. The midfield is still a mess. The defense is still a mess. The two spaces that we haven't invested in coming off of last season, the only position we actually invested in was the attacking positions. And the goalkeeper, which is one guy, we got that taken care of for now. But, you know, I was having this conversation with my father earlier today, and I was telling him, I said, listen, I said, there's no easier, better example than to look at what we did, okay? We spent, minus lemons, 170 million. We spent 200 million total. 170 million on the attack. Why is the attack the only thing that's actually decently good that we have this season? Because we spent 170 million on it. We redid it. We revamped it. Okay. Now we have the third most goals in the league. We're in the same position for chances created. We create loads of chances, and you know sometimes we score a few goals. Sometimes we struggle to score more than one. But overall in the season so far, the attack aspect has improved and has been the best that it's been. Definitely considered to last season, the season before that, and the season before that. But we as a team still struggle because we haven't touched the midfield and we haven't touched the defense. And you need to touch the midfield and you need to touch the defense to have a team. So this is where I get mad at the board, Ineos, and even some of the fans, because they believe that we are actually better, that we are better than we actually are, and we're not, because we need investment. We need to continue to upgrade, and we can only do it in a certain process. And so there has to be an understanding for the coach, for the manager, whoever it is, that yes, we spent money and we got new people in, but there's a bigger project going on here, and we need to upgrade more areas. And we're not going to be able to compete in the way that you want to compete until we get those pieces in. So there's got to be some sort of understanding from the top of, like, you know, we're not where you might want us to be, but there's more work to be done. And the manager might be struggling on the pitch, and that's because we need more recruitment. We need better recruitment. Axe says, Martinez is scapegoated in advance. The toxicity surrounding our club has reached a new level. I love them like they are our legends, but that comment, let's say they are better at passing then. Well, that's the thing, Axe. That's the thing. And, you know, I listen, I love them too. I might come on here. I might call them idiots. I might call them morons. I never said I hate them. I never will. I love them for what they did for our football club as players. But this is a different space and this is a different time now. They are not players. They have become pundits of some sort or commentators or whatever. And you enter this space, it's fair game. Everybody gives an opinion. Nobody has to agree with your opinion, and you can have a really shit opinion as well. So it's a different thing, and I separate these things. Just whatever they say, I can hate them for saying that specific thing at that time, but it's not going to take anything they've done away on the pitch. It's not going to take away anything that they've done, at the time as a player. I separate those things. I don't view them as the same. All right, now I view them. I don't view them as legends. I view them as people that are speaking on Manchester United. That's what their job is now. They're not players. They're not part of the team. They're not coaches. They're not managers. They're not part of the coaching staff. They are just people that are fans, and they are speaking on the club. And I will address them in the same manner that I will address everybody else. You don't get any special. There's no special treatment here because you won 10 Premier League titles with us. Lucky says Glazers out. Jason Wilcox-Sack. Grace says, can't wait. Hi, Grace. Can't wait to loan in Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Let's go. Well, apparently there's a mystery centre mid we're going after, which the first thing I thought of today when they announced this, there's this mystery centre midfielder and they can't tell us about it. I already knew all the thumbnails. It was going to be this generic thumbnail with, that outline of like a person that doesn't have a picture, that black silhouette thing with a question mark over it. And I was like, they might as well just write on the thumbnail, who's that Pokemon? Because it's the same shit. Like, I mean, what are we doing here? And I think this is PR spin from the club. They're still putting it out. They're putting out a ton of it. Kudos to a lot of the United fan base. They're not buying it. People are staying on message. They're not getting distracted by it right now. So it's not even working, really, which is why they continue to try and push it, because they're trying to grind people down. They're trying to flip the narrative. They see that it's not working. They see that the pressure is not easing up on them. They see that people aren't getting necessarily distracted as much as they usually do. So they're going to continue to put things out. I'm going to hit them on this because I got a couple things here and a couple things that came out. But Cash says Scholes, Butt, and Neville are the problem from outside. These ex-players need to shut the F up and focus on something else. No one needs their opinions. Well, I think, listen, it's a bit of a difficult one for me because I think that I stand on the principle that everybody should be able to voice their opinion to a certain degree. And I do think that sometimes it does do some damage, but, I was listening to the overlap yesterday, and, part of me does agree, like, listen, what comes with Manchester United is everybody is going to talk, everybody is going to have an opinion. At the end of the day, that's really not going to go away. The only way to really solve that is you need to be able to handle it. It does really come with Manchester United, especially Manchester United. It comes with it. Now, I think individuals in the fan base, people need to smarten up a little bit more. The people need to get a little bit smart. They need to stop taking the words of these guys, again, like it's the Holy Grail or the Holy Bible or something like that, like it's God's written rule or it's God's law or something like that. They are just people. They, and yes, they played at a professional level, but they're human beings. They're wrong like everybody else. They can say stupid things like everybody else. They're not, listen, their ability was in their feet and with a ball. Okay? It might not necessarily be in their brains, all right? Because maybe they would be something else. So, it really, I think the biggest fix is that the United fans, the United fans specifically, because there are still a lot that if Scholes opens his mouth, or Butt opens his mouth, or Gary Neville opens his mouth, whatever they say, they go along with it. They don't question it. They don't think any other way. They just say, Neville said it, it's got to be facts. Scholes said it, it's got to be facts. These people need to learn to not do that. And when that happens, if it happens, then I think it'll be a bit more balanced. It could still affect a player or two because, listen, they're legends of the football club. You would like for them to back them a little bit more, show a little bit more support. And I think they can in a lot of different times. I think too many times they can, be too negative or not supportive enough, when I think they also need to hold the responsibility of, we need a bit of a siege mentality from them. They don't necessarily represent the siege mentality, and we need a siege mentality because we have so many enemies. Everybody hates us. If you're not a United fan, you hate us. Like, I've grown up with it, and I've come to, sort of live with it, because in the beginning, I never really understood it. I've had people that are friends with that are not friends, that are fans of Barcelona. They're not. It's not like they're a fan of another English team. They're fans of Barca, and they would tell me, "Fuck Manchester United," or they'd be like, "Fuck you, I hate United." And I always used to be confused, because I'm like, "Why do you hate us? We're in England. You're in fucking Spain. And you guys are big, we're big, but we're not direct rivals. But we've had some matches against each other. But I'm like, you're talking to me like you're a Liverpool fan." You're talking to me like you're an Arsenal fan, which I always found weird. But then, I understood why after growing up, you know what I mean? And then when you really look at it, you're like, well, if you're not a fan of United, you pretty much hate us. So it's literally us against the world. And I just feel like sometimes Gary and these guys, listen, they definitely say stupid shit. They say shit that I don't agree with, for sure, 110%. And I just think sometimes they just feed the other side. They feed the other side too much. There needs to be a little bit of more of a siege mentality of if you're going to say stupid, dumb shit, at least do it to protect some of the players we have, against outsiders, and then have the real conversations with the United fans. If somebody outside of United, that's not a United player, a former player, a fan or something like that, is trying to have a go at one of our players, put that guy in his place. Even if you're saying stuff that's not necessarily true, I'm not saying a lie, but I'm just saying, you try to make a point where you try to bend it a little bit, just so you can shut them up. And then, for example, if Carragher's trying to talk down on Casemiro or Lisandro Martinez, I would like Neville and Roy Keane to basically say shit to Carragher to shut him up, right? And then later on, between Neville and Roy Keane, they can have the real conversation of, well, he's got to do better and this and that. But they don't really do that, do they? They don't really do that. Ryan is here, says, these ex-players are the problem. The reason Gary Neville didn't call out the owners because he made deals with Jim of Rat for the Vanity Project to make money in the club. Well, he is certainly one that is at a conflict of interest, Gary Neville, right? I mean, he is working with them in some sort of capacity and factor. I do feel like he probably has, Gary tends to have very good sort of relationships with anybody that's English, yeah, and Sir Jim is English, and Wilcox is English as well. Barada is not English, but Wilcox is English, Sir Jim is English, and he's working with them, and I think obviously he's, he has a conflict of interest because I think he had every opportunity to call out Ineos the way that he's sort of called out the Glazers at times in the past, and he didn't do it, and he hasn't done it, and I'm not really surprised by him not doing it. It is hypocritical, of course it is. And I again, listen, I think it's good on the people. This is why I think everybody needs to be able to speak. This is why I think that these people need a platform. Because if you shut these people out, I think it does the opposite, okay? These people will expose themselves. They will lose. And people will end up not supporting them. The more and more they go about their ways, they will continue to expose themselves. And it may take longer than maybe it needs to, but people do catch on at some point. And people will start calling it out. And people will have enough of it. And people will be tired of it. And people will then, not take them seriously. They will become a joke. They will become less significant. So, and I think we're already starting to see that now, especially with what's going on at the club. and, you know, what's happening with our football club and how it's being run and shit that's been happening and stuff that's been coming out and what people are saying. I mean, like, listen, Gary Neville is very all over the place, okay? So he says things and then he says something totally different next week, and he contradicts himself all the time, which is why I don't really listen to Gary Neville, you know? I don't really listen to him in terms of, like, I'll see what he says, but he never really makes that good of a point for me. I don't really find myself agreeing with him a lot, and I don't really take him seriously like that. I don't see him as somebody, as sort of this leader of, like, ideas that I think he comes up with good things that, like, I'm like, you know what, he's actually right on the money with that. Most of the time, I'm just like, yeah, you know, you said something different like 2 weeks ago. Now you're saying this. You didn't say it at the time when it was the appropriate time to say it. You're now saying it after the fact. And during the time when you needed to say the thing that you're saying now, you know, you were saying something else. So, you know. Simon says, good evening to you. Good evening, brother. Scholes and Butt have done their bit for the club, winning trophies, etc. Listen, they have as players. Okay? They have. And nobody will ever take that away from them, and nobody can ever take that away from them, and that will always be a fact. And they will always be, at least for me, they will always be respected in that regard as players. But as I said, you've entered this space of commentary, you've entered this space of public opinion, and you must deal with what comes with it. And if you say something stupid, if you say something idiotic, if you say something that people don't like, if you say something bad, well, that's just part of the game, you know? It's just part of where you're at. And people are going to voice their opinions against it. And if they have a problem with it, well, then maybe they should think about what they're saying or how they're going about it. I don't think that they're bothered by it. As Axe said, it's probably good for the money anyway. So, you know, and it's good for their podcast. It's probably growing numbers. It's probably getting more attention. So they might not be too bothered by that at all. Lucky says, we're not interested in this crap. Glazers out. Fans sell Ugarte, get Ruben Neves. He wants to go England, drop content. Listen, Lucky, we know you want to sell Ugarte, and we know you want midfielders, but let's just put this straight and clear, okay? I'm sorry to tell you this, and I'm sorry to be so negative and so just, you know, but nothing's gonna happen, Lucky. Nothing's going to happen. We're not signing anybody. They don't want to sign anybody. They've made it abundantly clear. I would advise you, don't even waste your time for the next 2 weeks. Go focus on something else. Go think of something else. Like, we're not signing anybody. Don't sit here and hope. Don't waste your breath. It's not happening. They've in their actions, they have made it quite clear what they're going to do and what they want to do. They don't believe that we need to sign anybody in January. They fought with Ruben Amorim over signings of January. They sacked him, and that was probably a quarter of a fraction of the reason why, over signings of January. They bring in an interim, which is not an interim. He's actually a head coach for the next 6 months because there's no mention of interim in the official statement. That they will then tell you, well, we can't really buy somebody because he's not going to be the coach. The coach is going to come into the summer. We're not going to get anybody. I don't believe we're going to get anybody. It's totally wrong. It's disgusting. They're literally no better than the Glazers. They are actually literally Glazers 2.0. The Glazers are still running this football club. They are an absolute facade of an ownership. Okay? They are there is no possible way you can get a British guy, billionaire, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and he hires Jason Wilcox, who is a football guy, and Barada, who is at City, who is more of a football guy than we had in terms of Ed Woodward and Richard Arnold, yeah? And you have Christopher Vivell. There's no way you can get these guys, and the club is still operating in the same manner in that, like, if prior to having these people, we are still doing the same thing. We are still Glazonomics. We are still business 101. We are still, don't spend money in the first quarter. It's bad for business. Businesses don't spend money in the first quarter. Don't buy a player. Don't buy and don't sell. Don't do anything. Don't do anything. The books need to stay the way they are. We'll do it later on. That's why we love the summer, because it's later on. It's a different quarter. That's why we wait till late, always, because it's later on in the quarter. It's closer to the fourth quarter. It's in the third quarter. You know, it's all a facade. This is all bullshit, okay? And some people will tell me I told you so, but listen, I have my values. I have my processes. I am okay with myself. I'm okay that the fact that I gave them an opportunity, I have no problem and I have no regret about it. And I'll do it again for somebody different, of course, not for them. But because both sides of that thing is, listen, the Glazers are here and I don't like that optic, but there's new people. And I always knew, listen, when you come in after the Glazers mess, it's still going to take time. The Glazers have made such a mess that whoever comes in, it's still going to, even if you clear all the debt and you buy a brand new team, it's still probably going to take like 2 seasons to get cohesion, to get shit running properly. So I had no problem giving these guys an opportunity because I said, well, listen, they're going to need time. There's a lot of shit that's broken here. It's not easy to fix. And it's new people. So show me what you got. And as I've always said, their actions will dictate my stance. And that's how it will always be. Their actions will dictate what support I have. And their actions that they have done, they have totally 100% lost my support. I don't believe in anything that's going on in this football club anymore. In fact, they've probably sent me all the way to the other side now in terms of that. I just don't believe a single thing that we are getting fed. I don't believe a single thing that the club puts out through these journalists. I'm not buying anything. I think the whole thing is a sham. I think the whole thing is a play. It's fake. It's reality TV. I don't think it's real. I don't think there's anything that is actually real about any of these people. I've gone so far over that I think that everything they are doing is to try and get the Glazers to get $6 billion for the club. And it's less expensive if you can build a team that can just stay in Champions League football. Not win the Premier League, not win the Champions League, but if you could build a team for a certain amount of money that can just stay in Europe, that's good for you if you only care about money. That's good for you if you don't want to actually invest. And I think that's what this is. I look at the stadium project. I look at the way they're trying to handle the team in terms of, you know, they're trying to do it on a budget. They're trying to tell us that they really believe that this team is good enough to go and get top 4 when we started the season with the same fucking team and a different manager. And they said 6th place was good enough. Now we're in 7th and we had a few opportunities to go up higher and we didn't get them. And I would argue because the players that we have, because they're a major part. And now they're telling us, oh, listen, we'll get Carrick. He knows the club. He's going to play a fullback. He'll coach the players. And this team is good enough to get Champions League. And as I've been saying, I don't know, if you guys have been keeping up with the news, but you want to compete with Manchester City. People are talking about we should be above City. How can you be above City when City just went and they just bought Semenyo and now they're buying Gahey? And we're sitting here and we're doing nothing. And as I keep saying, you do nothing in this, I mean, you could apply it to a lot of things in life, but in football, especially in the Premier League, especially with the dynamic of where we are and where the rest of the teams are, you sit there and do nothing. Well, the other teams are going to continue to be proper football clubs and they're going to do something. And if they do something and you do nothing, not only are you not going forward, but you're going to go down. You're going to go backwards because people are going to start pushing further away from you. And I think it's honestly, I honestly, really, 100%. I wish Michael Carrick the best. I would love Carrick to win 10 games in a row. I'll celebrate every single one of them. I'll be over the moon because I like Michael Carrick. I think he's a good guy. I want him to have a successful career as a manager. I don't even want him to stay here. I want him to go after this. I want him to go continue his career. I think it's a fucking disgrace that you're bringing this guy in and you essentially want him to do a miracle. I think it's a disgrace to this football club that you do this to people and you want them to do miracles. I think it's a disgrace that people, fans, have to pray and hope for miracles to happen at United so that we can have some sort of a decent semi-successful of a season. I think it's disgusting. And I think it's stupid as well. Like, I think it's a dumb gamble. I think it's really dumb of a gamble because there are things you can do to secure your position a little bit more. There's things you can do to strengthen our stance a little bit more, and they don't want to do it. They don't want to do it. Or they're so incompetent and they're so stupid that they're blind and that they can't see that they need to do it. But I think that's giving them too much credit. I think to say that they're dumb and they don't know what they're doing, I think you're giving them an out. I think that's an out. I think they know exactly what they're doing. I think they're fucking evil, greedy people, and I think this is all a play. It's all a plot. It's all a plan. It's all a facade. It's fake. It's reality TV. It's scripted. They're scripting this shit. And they're trying to... How I feel right now about this football club is nothing is serious. The only thing that's serious is these guys are trying to make their money. They're trying to figure out how do we get somebody to buy this club for $6 billion. All right? I start thinking back and I go, the Glazers pretended like they were going to sell. I think if they had the offer that they wanted, if somebody actually put it there, maybe they would have done it. Maybe the greedy bastards, they would have asked for more. Maybe it wouldn't have happened. But I'm thinking and I'm just like, it seems like it's almost like a house. You know, they put it on the market to see what they could get for it. They could see what was the range what were people willing to give us. They then took it back off the market and they're now looking at the house and they're like, all right, what can we do to the house where we can make it a little bit more attractive, where we can make it look a little bit nicer, a little bit more modern or something like that, so that we can get people out there to then pay more money for it. So it'll be cost effective for us. We won't spend a shit ton of money. We'll spend the necessary amount so that we clean it up a little bit, make it a little bit nicer, and we'll get our price. That's what I feel like is happening right now at this football club. That's what I feel like is going on. I don't feel like there's no real football project. I think the football thing is being used against us to string us along so that they can get their stadium. They can clean the house a little bit. That's why they're sacking all these people. That's why they've cut the wage budget down to 6th in the league in terms of when you look at the table in wage budget. We are 6th. We have the 6th highest one. Okay, we used to have the highest one and no results for it. Now we're 6th, and now we're in 7th place. And there's a correlation to that as well. You know, there's a reason why mid-table teams are mid-table teams, because they spend mid-table wages. And so you can only get mid-table players. And so we're down to 6th. Okay, well, we're not competing. We're not even in the top 4, are we, in wages? So how are you going to compete with those teams for those players? You can't. Can you? I missed a lot of the chat. I'm sorry. I went on a rant. I apologize. We don't actually know how much of the press is in the Glazers' pocket. I would tell you, Axe. I would tell you. Rule of thumb. I would assume, and this is how I go about it. I would assume 90%, 95%. I would assume the maximum. And not the other way around, because I think if you do it the other way around, you're leading yourself to, get screwed over. I really don't trust these people at all. They bother, they eat me alive inside. They're greedy, disgusting people that I just know that they are trying to influence every aspect they can. And when it comes to the media, I know for sure. I don't know exactly who, and I don't know, you know what I mean? But I know for sure they are grabbing these people and they are feeding them shit to feed to people. For sure. For sure. If you have that money, if you have that power, that's like number one rule you do. You need to get a hold of the press to push the optics. That's going to be your biggest, it's going to be your sword, essentially, in this battle. Max says, bro, I get them. I personally dislike Bayern more than Liverpool. I don't... How? How do you dislike Bayern more than Liverpool? Like, listen, like, there's a bit of a rivalry there with Bayern. I get it, but I mean, bro, we directly compete with Liverpool. I hate Liverpool more than any team in the world. And then more recently, I hate City because they're literally trying to replace us, and people don't understand this. Like, they're trying to replace us in the fact that they tried to make their own Trinity statue. Okay, these people are literally trying to erase us from the face of the planet and become us. And I hate them for that. I think it's disgusting. Listen, if you want to be better than us, go ahead. If you want to do something, if you want to become something amazing, go ahead. Do it your own fucking way. Don't start ripping us off and stealing our shit and then parading it around like you're the greatest thing ever and nobody's ever seen it before. All you're doing is taking everything we've done and just copying it and then using it as Manchester City, like you guys invented it, like you guys fucking did it. And it's like, we already did all the shit that you done, and you just put a fucking blue badge over it. So I hate them. And then, the outside rivalries, listen, Madrid, Barca, like, yeah, like, we'll have competitions, we'll have like discourse, we'll have like back and forths about it. But these guys are in our league. These guys are in our league. And some of the people, they hate Arsenal. I don't hate Arsenal too much, because me growing up, they were always like the little brother. They never really did shit, and we always beat them. So they never really bothered me to that extent. But, I was before I was like born or when I was young, there was those periods when, when Wenger came in the beginning, and, there was that whole rivalry. So I get that from where people are and shit like that. But, Gary never works Glazers, so as doing well. Listen, he's called out the Glazers, but he hasn't called out Ineos in any way. And actually, I think he tried to. I think he had every opportunity to call out, Wilcox, like he's called out Joel and Avram. He didn't. He had an opportunity to call out Sajim by name. He didn't. He had an opportunity to do with Omar. He didn't. And he hasn't done so. And I don't really expect him to, because, again, he's got a conflict of interest. It's a bit similar to like when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was the manager, at one point. Like, all of them were in a conflict of interest. All of them really couldn't give an unbiased opinion, because by default, they are biased, because they worked with him. They're friends with him. They're teammates with him. So, but again, listen, let him do his thing and let him be like that, and just let the people see it for what it is and call him out, and he'll lose respect. He'll lose authority. He'll lose pull. He'll lose say, and, people won't pay attention to him as much, or they won't take him as seriously, and I think that's a fine outcome. Lawrence is here. Says bonsoir or bonjour in New York City. Think we can sneak a win tomorrow? Well, we'll get into the match in a couple minutes, and I'll give you my thoughts and opinions. Richard says, evening. Is this a Ruben Amorim channel or a Manchester United channel? Okay, I don't know. Richard, stop being weird, bro. Stop being weird. Stop being weird. I will talk. Let's put this straight, okay? You're going to come in here and say these things. Bro, I will talk about whoever I want, whenever I want, for however long I want. And if you don't like it, you can go. And anybody else can go as well, okay? Ruben was the fucking manager here. He's not the manager anymore, but there's an impact, okay? If I want to talk about Ruben Amorim for 45 minutes, I will talk about Ruben Amorim for 45 minutes. Stop being weird, okay? Stop being weird. Lauren says they don't have a plan, so a midfield or left wing loan gets them off the hook for now. Well, that's the other thing, Lawrence. It's like, bro, it's like feeding the crumbs. You know what I mean? It's like feeding the crumbs. And Grace talked about this one time, and she said it, and I agreed with her in the fact of that. It's like let's not promise them the world. Let's promise them nothing, so that when we give them when we give them a crumb, they'll be satisfied, because they'll be like, well, it's better than nothing. Well, you know, at least we got a left winger in on loan, because we almost ended up with nothing. And it's like, no, we needed more, and they should have done more, and they should have done better, and we needed better. And I think this is the game they're playing. Like, I think this is what they're doing. Like, typical bullshit is that they are making it look very, very bleak. They're feeding out that they're not, you know, it doesn't seem like anything's going to happen. And then probably, you know, a week before, maybe a couple days before the window closes, maybe we'll get a loan in or some shit, or maybe they'll do some like deal that pops out of the for 20 million or something, and they'll be like, look, we got you guys something. Are you guys happy? And it's like, well, first of all, you probably could have done that 2-3 weeks ago. You waited so that you didn't, you know, because if they do it in the middle of January, people are going to be like, well, there's 2 weeks left, go do something else. But if they wait till the end, they'll be like, well, you know, it was close, guys. It was close. We almost didn't get anything done, but we got it. We got it just in time for the window to close. So, you know, just be happy. Just be happy we got you one guy, okay? Just be happy with that. It's, you know, it's fine. I told you I was wrong when when you criticized Ineos. Okay, and do you want me to give you a cookie or something? What do you want? A trophy? You know, what do you mean? I literally just said what I said. I give my opinion, and I don't believe in jumping down the throats of people when they just come in. Okay, you guys were people. Listen, I didn't even want Ineos in the first place, okay? But I can do both things, all right? I didn't want them. I backed Qatar. I never wanted these guys. They were here. I gave them an opportunity. I think some of the criticism very early on was jumping the gun, because you don't know how things are playing out. And I say I like to see things play out, okay? Things have played out. They have made decisions. They have gone about things in certain ways, and now I am against them. That's how I've always presented myself. That's what I've always said. And I don't care how that makes me look. That's how I operate. It's not flip-flopping. I held out for a really long time, didn't I? But after a certain point, you make a lot of wrong decisions. You take the club in a very wrong way. That's it. So Lucky says, glad you're with me, mate. Well, yeah, let's go, bro. Shaquille Oatmeal says, first time here, and I agree with you, RDEFC. Well, my name is Eric Shaquille. Good to have you here, buddy. Shaquille says, I think the stadium is a big distraction. Listen, it's a moneymaker for sure. It's a moneymaker. I don't think it's necessarily a distraction in terms of, listen, it sounds nice on paper. When they presented it, it got a lot of traction. But if you look right now, none of the fans are talking about the stadium. Nobody actually gives a shit. because the stadium isn't going to get built for like another five years anyway, right? Nobody's looking at that. Nobody's talking about that. I what the stadium is, I wouldn't classify it as a distraction. The stadium to me is a piece to the puzzle of their ultimate goal. I look at the stadium as like, it's like an extension of your house. It's like remodeling a piece of your house. Yeah. And the point of that, when you do that, is one, if you live in the house, you know, you have maybe more room, or you make it look nicer. But obviously, what also comes with that is the property value goes up. And for them, like I said, you know, if you're looking to, if you want to sell this club for $7 billion, and people are only like, nah, we'll only give you 5. Well, you got to do something to make people want it for $7 billion. And I think when they look at it, they're like, well, we could go the football route. What people say is like, you know, win the Premier League, you get money. Win the Champions League, you get money. But I think if you actually break that down financially, that's very expensive. And you have to fund it yourself. Okay? When you do something like a stadium, and we have an update about this as well, that they met yesterday, the Glazers, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Ineos, all of them, they usually have a meeting in Monaco about, you know, the running of the football club. They go to Monaco on a little retreat. They go hang out with each other, probably, you know, I don't know, you know, drink some expensive water or some shit like that, that they probably barely take a sip out of the glass. And they talk about these things. Now, they didn't go to Monaco. They stayed in Manchester because of the shit that's going on at the club, because of the discourse around the club, because the fans are pissed off and they're coming after the management, and they sacked the manager and all this shit. So they did it at United. They did it in where we have our offices. They stayed in Manchester. They stayed in England. And it's come out now that they met an investor yesterday at this meeting, which is, it's, you know, standard meeting they usually hold. They met an investor, and this investor was for the stadium. And they're looking to get investors in. They need a total of 2 billion. I think it's pounds, dollars. They need, where did it go? It should be here. Here it is. The Glazers, Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos heads met with an investor yesterday in Carrington regarding the potential new stadium. Manchester United are looking for commercial partnerships plus private investment partners. Funding estimated £2 billion needed total. So this is what I'm saying. Like, these guys, they're trying to get, listen, they're getting investments from other people. You can't do that when you go and build a winning Premier League team. You can't do that when you build a team that wins the Premier League and then you have to continue to spend money to sustain it. It's much cheaper to build a team that sustains itself in 4th or 5th place. Way cheaper. Way cheaper. And then all you have to do is maybe just add 1 or 2 players every season, whatever, and you just stick around there. You stick around 4th and 5th as much as you can, because it's way cheaper. And then in the meantime, where you're going to make your real money is from commercial partnerships plus private investment partners. And you're going to have people give you their money to invest it into your club. And then when you build the thing that's going to make you more money, you give them a percentage, you take the rest, and then you ride off into the sunset with whatever price you get. You know Lucky Singh, the GOAT. I've seen you everywhere for years. Lucky is a very he's very listen, he's very he says a lot of things that he's always here. He's always here as well. He's always here. He's very passionate. He writes a lot. He writes too much sometimes, to be honest. I tell him not to. But Shaquille says the Manchester development will take precedent. By the way, what happened to the 115 charges? I don't know. Apparently they don't exist, I guess. You know, I don't know. You have 115 charges, but you can still go buy 2 players in January. And they just signed Gahey for 20 million. You know, I feel like if it was any other club, no way they would have sold Gahey for 20. 40, maybe 20. What are they negotiating there? Shaquille says they didn't learn from sacking mid-season. It's mind-boggling. It's not that they didn't It's not that they didn't necessarily learn from sacking mid-season. It's because they are, Shaquille, in my opinion, to put it bluntly, they're just assholes. Yeah, they're just assholes. Like, they didn't want to sack him mid-season. They weren't prepared for it. This is why this is why they were scrambling around. This is why they had to call up Ali and Carrick, because there's no other backup plans. There's nothing else we could do. They didn't want to do that. They did it literally because he went in a press conference and he said, basically whatever they talked about behind closed doors, he bring it to the forefront, which is why at the time we're like, why is he saying things like he's saying things and we don't have the context to it? Like, what is he actually talking about? Why is he talking about I came here to be the manager, not the coach? And blah, 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 blah. It's because we weren't privy to that information. But clearly they had an argument over that behind the scenes, which is why he said it publicly. He then also called him out and basically said, you're shit at your job, do your job, and I'll do my job. Which, if you ever do that in real life, I mean, if you work in an office job and your boss is coming at you and you go to your boss and you go, yeah, well, you're fucking shit at your job. How about you do your job and I'll do mine? You're probably going to get fired, yeah? So, like, it's not that I don't think that they didn't learn from sacking mid-season, because they sacked him because he said bad things about them. I think that they were like, we don't want to sack him in the middle of the season because the way it went with Ten Hag, we don't have options available. I think they really didn't want to do it. And they clearly, their egos and, them, like, they were like, oh, we'll let you stay here when you tie Wolves or you lose to 10-man Everton or you fucking, tie to West Ham at Old Trafford and you're dropping points. We'll let you stay here. But as soon as you say something bad about me, Omar, or fucking Wilcox, nah, that's where you draw the line. Now you got to get out, it's not about dropping points to Wolves at home. No. It's you said I'm shit at my job. Get the fuck out. And that's where we are. That's who we're being run by. These types of people. It's these types of people. Yeah, okay. Shaquille says, I think the fans at Old Trafford need to hammer them. Well, absolutely they do. Oh, the players, you mean? Well, yeah, I mean, listen, we need to hammer everybody. I think. Listen, the fans at Old Trafford, listen, they are a very supportive group of people. The support that they give is unbelievable. Okay. Especially, when you put it in the perspective, like sometimes people get mad and they're like, why are they clapping or applauding shit? And I'm like, well, because that's what they believe. Like, you support the club in good and bad times. And I always look at it as like, sometimes it's very hard for me to watch on TV. It's very hard for me to support from afar. Imagine when you're paying money for this to go into the stadium and you still can, not be so not disgusting about it. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be super hostile or anything. They support. So, like, I think that there's always has to be a good balance to things, Shaquille. There has to be a good balance. I think there's a time for everything. And I don't think we can constantly be pampering, babying the players, managers. We can't constantly, hold their hand and be supportive all the times, because sometimes they need tough love. Sometimes they need to be, booed, or they need to be, cursed out, or whatever it is. There's got to be a good balance of it, because if it goes either way, it's not going to be good, right? If it goes extremely hostile, that's not good. You don't want that. It'll be overwhelmingly way too toxic. But if you go the other way, it's not good either, because then there's no pressure on them. There's nothing being put on them or anything. Told you in August, told you in September, and you said I was wrong. Okay, cool. Again, Richard, what you want from me? You want a cookie, bro? You want me to make you a plaque that says Richard was right? Like, I don't give a shit, bro. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. You come in here with your agenda, you're all mad at me and shit. You're being all pissy and shit, bro. I don't give a fuck, man. I don't care. I really don't. I could fucking care less. I could care less. Get involved in the conversation, or I'll just ignore you, broski. I'll just ignore you, man. We're literally having a conversation here. You're talking about random shit. You come in here talking about Ruben Amorim show. We did one show after he got sacked. And it was not in defense of him, and you don't understand anything I'm saying. You don't listen to the words coming out of your mouth, and you make your own narrative, and then you want to come in and attack me. You're not attacking me on my own show, okay? It's not happening. Not you, not anybody else. Shaquille says, I agree. I think they had to establish conditions at the start. We'll never know. We have Ahmad and Buemo. Moss back, and Maguire. Well, Mazuari's not back though, is he? Shaquille says we need to buy a midfielder. Listen, we need to buy a midfielder. We're not going to get one though. We're not going to get one. Like he says, Glazers out, Eric. You got me, my friend. Well, I'm gonna hit that in a little bit more. Richard says I read no English football press. I read the New York Times and the Athletic. Well, yeah, I mean, the English press, listen, I don't know. You should hate Leeds more. City will always be a baby team that came behind us. Well, the thing about Leeds is that I wasn't old enough for the rivalry. So, I understand the concept of it. I understand it. But in my growing up, those weren't the teams that we were combating. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I don't like them. I understand they're a rival. And any chance that we get to beat them, let's fucking smash them. And I hope they get relegated and shit like that. But for me growing up, Leeds was always nothing. Leeds barely existed. They weren't even really a thing. I mean, I think they were in the Prem at a certain time when I was like 6 years old. And then, I was 6. How much am I going to understand of the game and what's really going on? And then by the time I got to like my teens, when I was 13, 14, Leeds is non-existent. We're battling Liverpool and Chelsea. Arsenal was always a little brother. They never really did anything to us. And then in the Champions League games, it'd be like Bayern. Bayern was a pain in the ass every time we faced them. We played Madrid a few times. Barca was another one that was always like, fucking with us, and they edged us out a couple times, and that pissed me off, you know what I mean? Because I want to be better than them. I want to be the best in the world, and they beat us a few times. They beat us good. But yeah, I mean, I guess I guess it's on everybody's upbringing, because listen, I know people that are older than me, and they have the United Arsenal thing is like massive rivalry. Like they hold it more than Liverpool. And I'm like, to me, nah. But I guess to each their own, it has to be. To each their own, it has to be. The one thing you all have to understand is Liverpool, Southampton, and Stoke all lent us players after the Munich air disaster. Well, fair play to them for doing that at that time. Then ban me, Eric. No, I don't ban people. I don't give a shit. I don't need to ban people. I don't do that. I'm not a weirdo like that. I'm not a weirdo like that. I don't need to ban people. Look, I came to this channel because I thought it was a genuine United fan channel. I've always supported it. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, but you like, we kick off the show, bro, and you're coming in here and you're bringing shit from the last show and the show before that. And you're telling me, is this going to be a Ruben show, or is this going to be about Manchester United? You know very damn well it's not going to be a Ruben show. My guy, he's not the manager. So when you come in here being condescending like that, Well, I'm going to be nasty back because I don't appreciate that. You know, you didn't even give me a chance to start the show. How about let me start the show? How about let me talk? And if I'm talking about Ruben, then maybe you can make that comment. You know, just because you disagreed with what I said on that one specific show 3 shows ago, which was like 2 weeks ago. And again, I would disagree with you on it because you clearly didn't understand what my point was on that show, and you've taken it to heart because you think I was protecting Ruben, and I wasn't protecting Ruben, and I tried to make that quite clear. I don't know how many times I said it. It's not in defense of Ruben. None of it was in defense of Ruben. And clearly you hate Ruben, but there was a bigger point I was making against the people running this football club. Shars 01B is here as well. Richard says United 3, City 1. I don't know about that. £2 billion. $2.75 million. Billion dollars, sorry. Axel says exactly spot on talking about the stadium. Like he says, I'm sharp. Axe says, we'll all evaluate the Glazers from a footballing perspective. They only operate based on the finances and return of investment. And that's the thing. That's the thing. You know what I mean? Listen, that's the thing. Is that I don't do that anymore. I did it at a point, Axe. But you're right. There's still too many of our fans, our own fans, that do that. Because everybody tries to look at it through a footballing lens. And then, like, everything they do doesn't make sense footballing-wise. And it kind of, it technically doesn't. But they don't operate from a footballing lens. They operate purely from a business standpoint. And, you know, I'm not the most expert guy on this because I'm not, you know, I wish I could give more details. I wish I could, you know, really go really in depth into it. But I'm not a financial guy. I'm not a business guy. I only know so very limited, you know, things about it. I'm not one of these guys that can take all the financials that are reported and break them all down and you know, try to explain to everybody, like, look, this is where they're leading. But, you know, just from sort of a common sense place where I try to operate in, it's like, well, you can kind of see, like, they don't do the football things right, and just accept them for what they are. They're business people. And if they're business people, well, then you gotta at least try, put your little business thinking hat on, and be like, if I was a greedy bastard business person that didn't give a shit about this entity that I own, what would I be doing? What would I be doing? What would I be trying to do? You know? And that's how I look at it. I try to do a little bit of research here and look things up, but, you know, I'm only going to get so much of the picture. And, you know, I was talking to my father earlier, and I was telling him the same thing. I was like, listen, even these finance guys, right? There's a guy named Swedish Ramble on X he writes way too much, okay? But listen, this guy's breaking everything down. He's got numbers. He's got this. Dude, he's writing paragraphs every single day about the financials, about the wages, the expenditure. He's comparing it to other teams. He's comparing it to, you know, performances and stuff like that. It's brilliant if you want to sit down and have a read about it. It's a lot of information, and it's not necessarily in plain English, as I would say. So it's not the easiest concept to grab if you don't know anything about it. But even him, he can't give you the full picture because we don't have access to United's financials. The only people that know the full picture are the Glazers and Sir Jim Ratcliffe. And so it always keeps me in this belief of, I'm looking at what they're doing and I'm like, they're doing here, but there's something else over here. There's something else over here that we can't actually see, that they see and know of, and that they're trying to head towards. They got something, you know, they got something that's in their pocket already. They know where they're going. They know where the money is coming from. They know that they're going to make X amount of money by going down this particular path. We just can't see it because we don't have access to that information. We're not, we're not in the room when they're having the talks about the stadium and the new stadium development and what that's going to mean in terms of numbers, money, and what kind of revenue and what that's going to do for the club. We don't have access to that. We don't have access to full Manchester United's full balances, which will paint you a better picture of what the club is actually valued at, how the money is running, what kind of decisions are being made, and why they're making them. We don't have access to any of that. So it's just like, it's unfortunate. I always think it's unfortunate, guys, because I'm just like, listen, at the end of the day, we're football fans. We shouldn't have to be worrying about this shit. I hate that. I hate that we are like this in terms of that, not because we choose to be like this. We're forced into this. We're forced into this because we have the worst possible people running our football club. And they have forced us into essentially becoming like business people, where I have to like look at, I don't want to take time out of the day to talk about my fucking club's finances. I feel like that should be a thing that fans don't need to worry about. The people should be running it in a proper way where we don't have to think about it, where we don't have to talk about it. We should be worried about football things. We should be having discussions on like, what player we think should be starting in the midfield or some shit like that. But we can't even do that because our club is run so bad and it's so evil and just disgusting that we actually have to take the time out of our already regular, normal, busy lives that's filled with stress. And we need to now go and pay attention to the business side of things to stay informed so that we know what the club is trying to screw our club over with. The owners are trying to screw our club over with. Renoso is here, says, what's up, bro? What's up, everybody? What's up, buddy? Char says, Eminem supports United. Here we go. Slim Shady. Lucky says, what I see now, Eric, Harry Maguire, Mazawar, Lissandro Martinez are with managers' support now. Richard says, I do, and I sing and I applaud my team as they leave the pitch. Well, listen, listen, whatever the fans do inside the stadium, I'm not in the stadium, so I'm never going to tell the fans what to do. They get to choose what they get to do, okay? If they want to applaud and we lose 6-0, then applaud, Go ahead. I think to each their own, and they get to do it. I won't necessarily agree with it, but I'm not going to sit here and say they shouldn't do it. They're paying money. They go there. They travel home and away. They're allowed to do what they feel like is the right decision in the moment. I will trust the fans to do what they feel like is the right thing to do. So if they all decide that they want to boo, then you boo. And if they want to clap and they want to sing, then you clap and sing, and I'll have my own opinions and I'll be here and I'll say and I'll do whatever I want. If I want to come here and if I want to berate all the players, then I'll berate all the players. If I don't want to berate all the players and I want to be, if I want to clap, if I want to sing, I'll come here and I'll do that too. If Richard gets a Richard was right banner, I must get an Axe Lord is Jupiter one. Nobody's getting banners. Maybe one day. All right, Richard. We'll chill, okay? We'll hang out. We'll relax, okay? I apologize. All right, Renoso says, also depends what part of the world you are from. Southern California, I hate City/Liverpool and loathe Barcelona fans. Leeds and United is as much about the regions as the teams. That is true, I guess, as well. That is true, I would say, Renoso. It also, I guess it depends where you come from as well, because, there's local rivalries and stuff like that, which is obviously going to have more an effect if you're in there, and it's going to have less of an effect if you're not really from there. So, that would play out as well. being in New York, the thing about New York is like there's all types of people, and there's all, there's literally like New York is like the entire world is in one place. Like, there's every type of person here. And then with that, it's like there's all, it's all over the place. Like there are United fans, there's people that are Chelsea fans, and we're all like sort of mixed into one. So it's quite different than like, some places in the UK or something where it might be like separated a bit more tribally. You know what I mean? But yeah, here it's like, like I remember going to high school. Like I wear my United kit. Some guy's got a Barcelona kit. The other guy's got a Real Madrid kit. And some dude's got an Arsenal kit. And we're all in the hallway like hanging out with each other. You know what I mean? But you can't expect the worldwide fan base to be as involved in. Yeah, I mean, I think people have to have a little bit of an understanding. But that's where the thing that locals to the area of Manchester, some of them will call out the rest of us because they'd be like, "You don't get it, you don't understand," and it's like, well, yeah, maybe to a certain degree, yeah, but I still feel like it's still not right to totally discredit somebody as. Because some of them take it so far and they say, like, you're not welcome as a fan. You're not a fan. We don't consider you a fan. And it's like, listen, I'm not here to step on your toes. I'm not here to say I'm a bigger fan than you are, okay? I'm not here to say, like, any of that. I'm not here to take the importance away of, the people that live in that area or that their family or their generations of their family have grown up in that area and been through something. I'm not here to take any of that away. I'm not here to say that I'm bigger or better than you. I respect all of that, but I am definitely, but then I'm also not going to sit here and accept somebody telling me that I'm not a fan when I dedicate all this fucking time to this club and I love this club. And I dedicate all this time and all this effort. You're not gonna get away with telling me that I ain't a real fan just because you fucking don't think so. We are both fans. We are different fans in different ways, but we are absolutely both fans. Those are the people I tend to really disagree with. Is these guys, and they're out there. Like, we're not gonna pretend like they're not out there. I've seen them. I've had them attack me on social media before. I've had them, come after me and be like, you've never went to Old Trafford. You've never went to Old Trafford. You're not a fan. I'm like, bro, what do you mean? Like, I watch every fucking game, bro. I live in the other side of the world. Like, relax, Richard says he apologizes. Okay, we're good. It's all right. Don't worry, buddy. That's what it's for, all right? See, this is how it's done, people, okay? Me and Richard got into a big fight and argument. We've hashed it out. We're okay, all right? Nothing happened. This is why we don't ban him, all right? And this is why you don't leave, all right? We're okay. Everything is fine, all right? This is what happens, You ever fight with your family member? That's why those people, listen, I don't want to go too off topic, but there's people that they never talk to some part of their family ever again. And I guess maybe it depends what they do. If it's something absolutely egregious, disgusting, then I guess I could get it. But if it's over some small, petty thing and they never talk to them again, I was like, I never really understand that, Like, we'll get over it. Don't worry about it. It happens. It's part of life, We'll move on. It's okay. It's all right. Axe says, yeah, I agree. I don't want to be paranoid. But do you remember LVG telling us Man United's marketing club and Eric Ten Hag in his first week saying what does he mean? Or what does what he meant by that? To see as his business, no love involved. Oh, absolutely not, Axe. No, I don't listen. Out of all the things that you say, that you have said, that I would not consider as paranoia or delusional or any of that. I think that's absolutely just pure facts, bro. Like, they have absolutely zero love. No Manchester United fan should think otherwise in that aspect, because again, they've proven it. There's things like where we can debate over, is it this? Is this the right way? Is it wrong? Should we just, should we trust these people at all in the beginning? And listen, some people, they live their lives where they don't trust anybody at all from the very beginning, right off the offset. And that's how they live their life. And then if that's how you live your life, go ahead. I don't live my life like that. And I won't do things. And I think there's positives and negatives to both of those sides. And I will give people, I will give everybody an opportunity. It's through your actions. It's through your decisions. I will self-admit, I probably give too many opportunities. I'm probably too nice sometimes. I'm probably too leaning, more than most people, maybe. But I don't really, it doesn't bother me enough that I feel like I need to change that. Like, I'm okay with that. I can live with myself being like that. Yeah. And sometimes that causes problems because I can get burned very easily by that, or I could get in some sort of trouble by that very easily. It opens the doorway to being taken advantage of. But I deal with it, I deal with it like I've dealt with everything else in life. You deal with it and you live by it, and, don't make the same mistake twice. But, and, this, just like these guys, like, I give them an opportunity, but it's like when you make decisions, and this is why I always say, like, the truth will eventually always come out anyway, because these people will expose themselves by the decisions they make. So there could always be uncertainty, and it'd be like, well, I don't know. I don't really trust them, but I don't know. It kind of feels wrong if I go all in on them without giving them a chance. But when they go about doing their business, if they don't have the proper intentions, if they're not the best for the job, they will expose themselves, which I feel like they have done. Because I wasn't the only one, and I was a bit different. Like, there was many United fans that they were with Ineos and Sejim from the very beginning. They didn't want Qatar. They were against Qatar the whole time. They were against them the entire time. I was on the other side. I just gave them an opportunity because they won the battle and there's nothing I could do about it. And I said, well, listen, I don't know how it's going to turn out. Could very well be shit, but maybe by some odd miracle of a chance, maybe they actually fucking will do something to fix this football club. But when you make the decisions that they've made, when you go through the process that they've gone through, when you handle the things in the way that they've handled it, they just show you exactly what it is. And I don't agree with any of it. I don't agree with anything of how they handled it. Because again, for me, it's like, the biggest thing to me is like, it was about the project. Yeah. And I think that's what's done it for me. Because, listen, maybe Ruben had to get sacked. Like, people, like you guys will say, like, he deserved to get sacked. And sure, but I still view it as two different projects. And there's two different ways. And if you're going to do the project that they were supposed to do with Ruben, you have to, that is the longer route project. And if you're going to take that project, you need to have balls. So that when people like Axe or Richard or anybody else says that he needed to be sacked, you don't sack him because you know you have to do a lot of work. And then you actually do the work, and then you see where you are at that time. Because that's how I view that project. When you get a manager like Ruben is, okay, his level, what he's had, that is a project that is the long route, okay? If you're going to do that, you have to follow through with that. You don't just quit halfway through. You don't just turn around and start trying to do other things. You don't just, and then even if you say, well, it wasn't the right thing, so they made the right call to turn back from it. Well, they chose to go with it in the first place. So not only did they originally pick the wrong project then, they also then abandoned it in the middle of it. And for me, I just don't have any trust. There's nothing that they can tell me, like, going forward, right? Let's get to June. If they come and they tell me we're getting Nagelsmann, yeah? I like Nagelsmann. And I'll name 3 other guys. If they tell me we're getting Nagelsmann, they're getting us Ancelotti, they're getting us Luis Enrique, okay? I like all 3 of those guys. I think they're all very good managers. I can't be excited by this because I don't trust these guys to follow through with the plan for that man. Whichever one it is. It could be any of them, any 3 of them. There's nothing that I can support or back them on now. Because the way I see it is, they abandoned this guy and stabbed him in the back in the middle of something that they were supposed to try and build. So what's going to be different for the next guy? Are they not just going to do the same thing to the next guy if it doesn't go immediately well? You know, they bring in Ancelotti, they'll get to a certain spot, and then they'll just turn their back on Ancelotti and then blame Ancelotti for everything and kick him out. Or they'll do it to Nagelsmann. Richard says, when the seagulls have followed the trawler, they think it is because the fish have been thrown into the sea. I love that line. Eric Cantona, of course. Greatest thing ever. I mean, listen, he had a point. He had a point to what he was saying, but like, if you don't, I mean, I guess to the average person or something, like when he says that, you're just like, everybody is just like, fuck's he talking about, you know? But obviously, it's a metaphor. It's its own metaphor for the point that he was trying to get across. But it's like, I always love that, him saying that, because it was just like, it was like answering the question without answering the question, and he just like made his own statement out of it, and everybody was just like what the fuck just happened? What just happened? Like, what did he just say? You know? So I always find that, I always love that quote. I always love watching the video because they're just like, what? Ray says Ineos is a sideshow of the Glazers. They went in to help the Glazers to build the new stadium after make big money when the Glazers sell the stadium. They are not here to make United better. Well, footballing wise, no. They are not here to make United better. But financially or value wise, I assume they are here to make United better. Yeah. They're just not here to make United better footballing wise. And actually, I think they technically are in a certain way. Again, I look at it as it's the same playbook as the Glazers was. We had this conversation in the fan base 5 years ago, 6 years ago, where it's like the Glazers were only doing enough. They were only wanted the Champions League football. They didn't really care about winning the Premier League. As long as you were getting the money for Europe, as long as you were staying in fourth, it's good enough. That's fine. That's fine. We don't need to win the league. We just need to stay in fourth. And I think the same thing is still very true. And I think Ineos is part of this, which is why they have, and I think it's for optics as well, so that they can string the fans along and say, look, there's changes. The Glazers aren't running the football things. We got these guys running. But meanwhile, it's two heads of the same body. It's two heads of the same beast. So they just showed us a new face, but really it's still the same monster. But what I think they're doing is, like, I know what Ray is saying, and to the rest of us, it's like, we consider making United better in terms of we're going to build an actual team, and we're going to sustain that team, and we're going to be competitive for the next, 10, as long as we possibly can, right? But when you look at it from the greedy business people, their idea of making United better is to just literally just get us up to the point where we can just stay in and around fourth. All they want to do is spend a certain amount of money to get United to sit and be able to compete so that we can, like, every season we go in, maybe we finish fourth. Now there's fifth. So now, you know, if fifth sticks around, as long as we can finish fifth, fourth, third, then that's fine. We don't need to spend more money to go and win the Premier League. That's going to take too much money. We don't want to spend that money. You know, because when you go to these people and you tell them, like, especially Glazers, right? Because Glazers are Americans. American sport is a bit different. If you look at the NFL, they have like franchises, and these franchises, the way like NFL goes is they spend like, you know, like 8 years or 5 years or, you know, however, they spend years and years and years. Yeah, it's like some teams they spend like 10 years, 15 years. Some teams they never get them, right? But sometimes when you have a franchise that does well, that team comes to an end and then you rebuild. And from the time you rebuild to the time you come good again, it takes a long time in the NFL. It usually takes like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years. And they just keep repeating the process over and over again, which is when I know of the NFL, I see them doing the same thing with United, which is like, that's what we've been doing, is that they keep stringing along the process. They keep like, they go 2 years and then they go, oh, well, you know, that rebuild didn't work out. Don't worry, we're going to get it right this one. And then they do it again in 2 years. And along the path, they try and throw the blame and throw everybody and anybody that they possibly can to muddy the waters. They throw them under the bus. Whether it's, you know, Mourinho, Van Gaal, Moyes, Ralph Rangnick, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Ruben Amorim, you know, they have done it to every single guy that has walked in here. They've even probably done it to players as well. Anything that they can use to take some of the heat off of them and the attention off of them and distract people with other things, whether it's Marcus Rashford or, you know, the manager or the one of these players or something, they will use that and they will put it to the media and they will alight a storm in the fan base because they know how we react. They monitor social media. They see the fans. They know what they talk about. They know what the fans react to. They know what the fans don't react to. They know what drives us crazy. They got people employed there that do that for a job. Okay, don't get it wrong. Don't think I'm saying Joel is sitting there looking at the phone. They have people employed that literally that's their only job, is to monitor social media and read the fans. And then try and use it to twist it and turn it and do whatever they can. Axe says, I was banned on Discord. I was Jupiter. I was unapologetic, inevitable, and ruthless. Well, I guess that's why you were banned. I don't know. But I didn't ban you, did I? I didn't ban you. I wasn't there, and I've told you multiple times if you want to come back, which you told me last time you didn't. So, you know, I would have talked with them, and I'm open to seeing if you would be back in. I didn't know what happened. I have people that are moderators, and that's because I trust them, and I gave them the power, and if they made a judgment call, they made a judgment call. I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. I was on vacation, my friend. Things were said. And I didn't get to see them. So I can't ultimately make the final call on that. Lucky says, Eric in life won't put money to anything till I see what intentions. Well, yeah, okay, I get that. Richard, Sesko, Bruno, Mason Mount. Haaland is down and out. His one goal was not enough for City. Axe says, it's respectable that you wait and judge people based on their behavior and not label them. However, some people are toxic from the get-go. Like Ineos were a shit to me from the beginning. Well, yeah, I mean, listen, like, I never preferred them. You know what I mean? I really didn't want them. And again, like, I mean, if you look at the first video, it's still there on the channel. It's not under live videos. I don't think it's under live videos. I think it's under just videos. It's there. If you scroll, it's not even that far of a scroll down. If you go down to the first video, it's probably shit compared to what we do now, but my first video is literally me ranting about how this club is fucked because Sir Jim Ratcliffe won the bid or whatever, or did a deal with the Glazers. So I was never happy about it. And I mean, technically, if I want to go off of that video, that was the first video I ever did for this channel. So I said it before I even knew all of you, you know? But I was just like, dude, let's just see. Like, you know, like I do have these reservations. I don't like when there's unfairness, you know, and jumping to conclusions. Like, let's see what happens. And when they fuck up and they make bad things, then we'll fucking hammer them for it. Which I think is what's happening now. I mean, there was a lot of people that these guys, you know, they were always by Sir Jim, and they did the same. They wanted to see what was going to happen. But now everybody's turning on them, which I don't have a problem with. It's like, listen, if you support something and then later on you go, you know what? I thought it was going to be like this, but now it's fucking shit. I give respect to those people. I think for you to be able to at least change your opinion, to at least critically think and be like, you know, I pictured that it was going to be like this, or I thought it was going to go like this, or I was hoping it'd be like this, and it's not. It's something else. And, you know, I don't like this shit, and I'm going to stand against it. Well, like, good for you, you know? Because there's a lot of people that they'll just sit there and be like, no, I got to be right. I got to be right. And they'll double down, triple down, quadruple down, quintuple down, sextuple down. I don't even know if that's the actual one for six, but which is the more weird thing to do. You know what I mean? It's the more weird thing to do. Richard says, yes, that's my point. Ineos knew his style of play and they should have never employed him. Yeah, and that's the whole thing. Like, listen, if I will say this, like, I know his style of play, and I know it's like very different to United, and I don't think, like, you know, what is the thing? Do we have to play a 4-4-2 and try and get something close to United? Can we make something new? I think that's like a conversation that's always very hard to sort of get the answer for, because I kind of feel like we've tried everything and nothing works anyway. You know, at this point, we've kind of gone all over the place and nothing has actually stuck anyway. But yeah, the whole thing is just like, if you're gonna pick something, for me, it's like, if you're going to pick something, if you're going to pick to go into a direct, because the whole thing was you sacked Erik ten Hag for that guy. And that guy was supposed to be the pick where you're going to set the actual direction under your leadership and ownership. And okay, he plays a 3-back and he plays a different way, and it might be different to typical United. But at the same time, it's like, that's the pick you make, then you stick with that pick and you try to make it work as much as you can, like going through the full process of it. But they just gave up on it. They just decided, nah, you know? And I do believe some of the things he said, like, you know, him mentioning Gary Neville in that press conference and saying, you know, we're going to listen to, you know, these guys on the outside, like, it makes me, I really do feel like fucking Sir Jim is sitting there and he's like going to Wilcox and he's like, you know, I was talking to Gary the other day and he said we should play a 4-4-2. And it's like, and then you got Wilcox running to fucking Amorim because Wilcox has no spine and he's scared shitless of Sir Jim. And he's like, listen, he's like, you got to play a 4-4-2. And Ruben's like, what do you mean? He's like, what are you talking about, Jason? Where the fuck has this come from? He's like, listen, he's like, you're playing a 4-4-2, or, you know, and he starts going off on him and he doesn't give him an explanation. So now Ruben's there and he's like, what the fuck is going on? It was like, we had a plan. He said they were going to back me. We had all these discussions about how we don't have the players. We're going to get the players. We're going to do it in a process. We got the attack. Then we'll go for the midfield. Then we'll go for the defense. And then, you know, we'll go from there. And he's probably sitting there like, this guy just calls me and he's yelling at me, screaming at me to play a fullback, and he's like, why? And then he probably finds out, well, Sir Jim is fucking screaming at him because Gary's on the phone with him, telling him Scholes, and Bud is telling him, you know, and it's like, then now we're going down like a conspiracy rabbit hole, you know what I'm saying? But I don't imagine the Glazers were happy about the Rubin decision, so flew to Manchester endangers a more Well, there was a bit of a report on that, Lawrence. You could be right about that as well. There was a bit of a report that, and this was I wish I could find it. I don't know where it went exactly. It was somewhere in that the Glazers. Let's see if I can find it. I'm pretty sure it came out yesterday. Here it is. So Andy Mitten, who was on Talk of the Devils, which somebody has, I think it was Mark Goldbridge, classified Andy Mitten yesterday as a Glazerite for some of the things that he's been putting out. Seems like some Glazer PR. But this came out yesterday to what Lawrence was saying, and Andy Mitten said day-to-day decision making has been led by Ineos. But you can't ignore the Glazers. He said that I've been told at times that they're watching with concern and interest. He then went on to say one of my readers spoke to Avram Glazer last month in the UAE and said it's a disgrace what they've done. And he said they're trusting in the coach, Ruben Amorim. So make of that what you will. And now the part that confused me is when he says this. When he says one of my readers spoke to Avram Glazer last month in the UAE and said it's a disgrace what they've done, and he said they're trusting in the coach. I get a bit confused. Is he saying that Avram is told them that what Ineos has done is a disgrace and that they're trusting in the coach? The wording is a bit weird. But that's how I kind of took it. I kind of took it as that he was saying that his one of his readers who spoke to Avram Glazer last month in the UAE, that Avram Glazer was told them that it's a disgrace what Ineos has done, and that they trust in Ruben Amorim, which I find interesting. But yeah, of course they're going to be concerned. Listen, it's their asset. Remember, it's their asset. They let these people in. You have to remember, this is a Glazer family-owned asset. Only the Glazer, only if you're part of the Glazer family did you have access to this great money-making entity machine, because that's what it is to them. They have now let outsiders of the family, they have let outsiders into their sort of establishment. So you best believe that they are definitely concerned, that they are definitely watching everything, and they are fucking keeping an eagle eye on this shit, because at the end of the day, it's their money, it's their investment, it's their asset, and these people are running a portion of it that they can significantly fuck it up for them in a certain way. So you best believe they're on top of their ass. 100%. Axe says, if only Nuggets, oh my god. Well, listen, you might get him in the summer. You might get him in the summer, Axe. Listen, in the summer, right? And we'll talk a little bit about Carrick. What time do we got? An hour 43, and then we'll finish out talking about more about City and the match, okay? But yeah, in the summer, listen, you got Ancelotti will become available after the World Cup. Nagelsmann will become available after the World Cup. Tuchel will become available after the World Cup. Pochettino will become available after the World Cup. That's just 4 managers just out of the World Cup. Glasner has already announced that he is leaving Crystal Palace, and he will be available at the end of the season. There's potentially Luis Enrique might leave at the end of this season, because he doesn't look like he's going to stay at PSG right now, although things can change, but he's another one. And then whatever else comes out of whatever managerial change. I mean, maybe Newcastle part ways with Eddie Howe. Maybe Eddie Howe is available. And then there's always Uriola and whoever else. So, I will say this, though. I talked about it a little bit before. I mentioned it real quick in the beginning of the show, and I will say, for Michael Carrick, again, I hope he does really well. I really like Michael Carrick. I think to some of the people that might be a bit worried in maybe his demeanor because of the way he speaks, he's a bit like me, a little bit calm, soft toned for the most part. Only thing is I'm allowed to get angry and I can yell. He's not really on the platform where he can be getting angry and ranting, right? But yeah, I wouldn't judge a book by its cover like that. I think he might come off a bit soft-toned in the interviews. Might come back a little bit. He might come off as a little bit chilled, a little bit relaxed, which might seem like he's a bit easygoing. Yeah, I don't think he's actually like that. I think actually Wayne Rooney said something about it today as well. So, yeah, I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about the squad. Yeah, I'm not really worried about Carrick. I think Carrick will probably have good game plans. I think Carrick will probably be all right manager-wise. The team is what worries me. The team has been worrying me all season. And they still worry me. And it's the team, it's the personnel that I've been banging on about forever, that they worry me. They're the ones that I don't trust. They're the ones that I don't really have faith in. They're the ones that I don't think that they're that good, or they're not good enough to reach some of the highs that people think that we can easily reach. But I will say, I think for Michael Carrick, I don't think Carrick should get the job fully. Even if he does a really excellent job, I don't think he should get it fully. I don't even want him to get it fully, solely because I think it would be best for him to go and to continue his career as a manager elsewhere, doing what he's been doing. Because I've been saying this all the time. I said, out of all the people, I think Carrick is the one that has actually gone through the proper process of trying to make himself a proper manager. He had a couple opportunities. I think it was like 2 to take over United for extended period of times, where maybe he would have eventually gotten a permanent job. And he actually chose not to do that at that time. And he chose to go start from the bottom, which I believe is the proper process in which you should do it. You shouldn't be handed shit just because you have an association with the club. You need to build yourself up to that level. I think the reason why I don't want Carrick to stay, no matter how good he does, is because I don't trust these people running the football club. I don't want Michael Carrick to be another victim of these incompetent assholes with their fake projects. Because I think Michael Carrick can have a real career as a manager and can be like a really good manager. So I think right now, this is sort of like a free hit to a certain extent. It's not totally a free hit because obviously he's a United fan, United player. He loves the club. He's going to want to try and get the club to finish as high as possible and do as well as possible, as he should. What I'm saying is, like, everybody already knows, like, this is sort of a temporary thing. He's been brought in for 6 months. We've already been fed, which I don't know if it's true or not, but they've already been trying to feed us that, we're definitely going to get another manager when the season is over and that Carrick isn't going to get the job. And I think for Carrick, listen, you come in, you're unemployed right now. You had a good stint at Middlesbrough. It finished how it finished, but you did well there. And this is like an experience for him. Come manage United. They need your help. You need some of their help. Take this learning experience that you're going to get managing a club like Manchester United, and then go back to what you were doing and go find another team. Maybe a championship team, maybe a smaller Premier League team if you feel like you're ready for that step up, and go manage them and go become a manager. I don't want him to come here and then in 2 years' time, when the club doesn't do proper recruitment, when they don't properly follow through a plan, and they stick that fucking knife in Carrick's back and they tell him, "Good luck, motherfucker." And then it all starts going to shit, and then we have to turn our back on our former player and our manager and we have to say that he needs to be sacked because the results are shit. And then his name and his image is also damaged now, because when you're at United and everybody's watching you, if it goes really bad, you're doing a certain level of damage to your name and your reputation. So I don't want that to happen. Axe says yes, but in like 6-7 seasons, a new manager only has 2 years at best, so a totally incompetent manager is a huge mistake. Plus 3 at the back isn't quite suitable for EPL. Well, listen, I mean, that's one thing, right? That's one thing. And that's fine. And maybe they should have never hired him for those reasons, okay? So I give it that. I don't necessarily argue that. I mean, again, like my whole thing is like, maybe some of you might not feel like it by the way I speak or spoke in the past or things that I said, but I'm not a fan of a 3-back. I wouldn't play a 3-back myself. You know what I mean? I'm not really a fan of a 3-back. I understand that football, there's many teams that play like that, and it's in football, and it's been sort of a growing thing. But I wouldn't play a 3-back. But he played a 3-back, and I was like, fuck it, it's something different. And I was like, we gotta at least try it. We gotta see it, you know. We gotta see how it goes. Stay hydrated, dude. I always get thirsty doing the shows. What else is going on a hike? You listening to us while hiking? Stay safe out there on the hike. Actually, you lost me here. I don't know what you were talking about. So you said no, it doesn't. It hasn't happened once. Okay, it's still a very low percentage. It's not impossible. Okay, do you wish to use the least plausible road to the top? I don't know what you were referring to though. Tim Ratcliffe needs to sell knees. Well, apparently he is selling knees. Well, Axe got banned from the Discord, Richard, so yeah, he's never been banned here. I timed him out once because he pissed me off before after a match before I went live for a match reaction. Which he kind of asked for because he said we didn't deserve his opinions, and you know, I was kind of angry, so I was like, you know what, I agree. So I timed him out so that we couldn't get his opinions because we didn't deserve them. So I timed him out for the day, but he wasn't banned. But he got kicked out of the Discord, and I was not there for that. I was not in the decision making of that. I don't know what happened or what he said. And I offered last time. I said, listen, I'll have a discussion with the people in the Discord, and if everybody's okay to have you back in, and we have a discussion about it, I have no problem bringing you back. You're still here. I didn't ban you from the show. I didn't ban you from the chat. So then can we agree on this point? The board, the technical director, and the sports director should own that mistake. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. They have to. That's what I was trying to get at. That's what I was trying to get at last time. For me, it's all about them. Like, it's all a bunch of different things. Like, whether you say, like, they shouldn't have hired him in the first place because of the way he plays, or that they didn't follow through on the project. I mean, both of them could be true. Both could be true. And to me, I don't think it really matters too much about whether they should have hired him in the first place or not. The point is like, they just, yeah, like, maybe they shouldn't have hired him. But they did. And then you would be like, okay, well, you got to give them the leeway to be like, well, they're in charge. They're looking at things. Maybe they see something, or they know something, or they're looking at something that we don't necessarily see right now. you got to give them sort of that benefit of the doubt, which is what I did. But then when you go halfway through the path and you go, fuck this ain't working, and you only did so much of the process of what you were supposed to do, it's like, well, this was all fake. You know, this wasn't real, was it? Because I always look at that aspect and I'm like, listen, if you want us to go down a certain path, there's a different type of way. Like, if you get an Ancelotti, like I said, you're going to expect shit to be put together very well, very quickly. And it's not going to, you know, there's not going to be a lot of room for a lot of time. You're going to say, like, you know, in 2 years, we should be fucking, like, you know, very competitive. But, and I don't have a problem with that because these guys have the experience for it, right? Like, somebody like an Ancelotti, he's got experience for that. All over the place. And he has a very good CV as well. And he's won many things. So I can understand that. But if you then start bringing me managers, like, you know, I look at Ruben and I look at Carrick and I see them as the same. Like, to me, they are the same person. Okay, one plays a 3-back and one's going to play a 4-back. And, you know, one played for United, so he might understand the United DNA a bit more than maybe somebody like Ruben Amorim. But I still view them as the same. It's like, if you're going to get me a manager like Carrick or like Ruben or even like a Areola, the only way that works for me is that guy's going to have to be given like 3 to 4 years. And 3 to 4 years, because we can only do the transfer business, the majority of it, the good amount of it, in summers. You know, and even more so that this club decides that they don't want to do business in January. Well, that just, you know, that's not his fault. That's not the manager's fault, whoever's there at the time. That's not his fault. He's getting fucked by the club. So then I look at it and I'm like, well, you know, this club is not going to help him in January. And they were going to do this twice to him. And obviously they sacked him before. But, you know, I look at these guys that, like, they don't have that level of experience. And it's like, well, you can do that to a certain degree. And maybe you can build it into something that's stable. But there's a very, like, thorough process you have to do to go to get that done. You know, it's almost like I kind of look at it. I had the same argument when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was in charge. You know, I used to say all the time, now we weren't live, we weren't here, we didn't have this channel. I wasn't doing this yet. But I used to say all the time, like, you got to get Ole the fucking players. You need to go and get Ole the players, because Ole is not a fucking master tactician. He's not that experienced of a manager when you compare it to some of the other great ones. It's like, you need to go get him players that can play. And you know, I felt like a lot of the time, well, clearly, I mean, he wanted a bunch of players. They didn't even get those players, and they ended up getting other players. But I said the same thing for Ole. It was like, this guy doesn't necessarily have that CV. He's not experienced like that. He's not that good. So if you're gonna have a manager like this, that's gonna, like, kind of just be a coach, right? But then you have to get, like, a certain level of talent for the guy for it to work. You need to have a certain player for it to work if he's going to be a certain level of a manager. And I'll say, like, that's how I looked at Ruben. And that's how I look at, like, somebody like Carrick. And if we get to the summer and they get Areola, I'm going to look at him in the same way. Because I'm like, dude, okay, he managed Bournemouth. And he might play some good. I like the football that he plays. I like how he sets Bournemouth to play. I like how he sets them up. I like how they rock up to everybody's stadium and they try to play football. They don't play, like, defensive negative bullshit. But at the same time, I'm like, you know, what's his highest CV? What's his highest, like, achievement? What's his highest, like, experience? It's not that high, is it? So if you're gonna go with him, if you're going to go with a manager like that, the project needs to be like 3 to 4 years. And he's going to have to be given, like, that time. because that time isn't about him really getting shit together. It's about the club getting their shit together and doing the proper process with the players and the building of the squad. Lawrence says, Glazers see Sir Jim Ratcliffe give Armourine full 3 seasons backing, then the rug pulled away from the project overnight. Richard says, Andy will never be a Glazers supporter, and his magazine was outside Old Trafford 20 years before anyone knew who Goldbridge was. Writes for The Athletic and part of it. Well, I know who Andy Minton is. I don't necessarily agree with what he said, but I did see him say that, so he's been going on a bit of a tear recently because, listen, he's not all right and he's not all wrong, right, Richard? Some of the things he says, he is good. And he does call out some shit. Sometimes he says some things. He goes a bit overboard, So. 28% battery. Please talk about the project to usurp the Glazers. Well, I'm not really part of the project, so I can't go that much in depth. But the 1958 has, they're coming out with the protests again, and I believe this was 2 days ago. So January 2 or 3 days ago, January 14th, 2 days ago. 2 days ago, I was online. I talked about it a little bit in the beginning of the show. And, I saw the aggregators, these big United accounts, just tons of accounts, everybody, a lot of them, all of them, which I was kind of surprised. But they all put this statement out, and it says the 1958 and the United fan base. And they outlined their thing. I was going to get you this image, but it's really blurry, so there's no point. And I'm having a hard time reading it. I don't know why it's so blurry, but they said Manchester United is broken. This is the hashtag that they are using online, so that, it all goes into one place. Hashtag Manchester United. Hashtag United is broken. Sorry, not Manchester United. But they wrote Manchester United is broken. They said years of mismanagement and catastrophic decision-making from top to bottom have dragged England's greatest football club into decline. The damage has been deliberate, prolonged, and ignored. The owners have taken billions out of this club through debt loading, dividends, and share sales. The club has paid the price. The fans have paid the price. Enough is enough. As supporters, we deserve better. More than that, we have the right to demand change. And then they said, here is why we must act. And they go to lists. Number 1, standards have collapsed. Managers are no longer judged on performances alone. They are removed for clashing with executives. Football decisions are being dictated by boardroom egos, not sporting vision. There is no long-term plan, no identity, and no leadership fans can believe in. And I agree absolutely 100% on that. Number 2, the debt is strangling the club. The Glazer family and Sir Jim Ratcliffe's Ineos must make genuine, measurable progress toward clearing the debt holding Manchester United back. Our financial power is broken and promises mean nothing without action, and that's true as well. 3, the fans are being exploited. Since Ineos took control of the sporting operation, ticket prices have risen sharply without consultation or warning. Manchester is a working-class city. This club was built by working-class supporters. The bond is being ripped apart in pursuit of profit. The roots of this club are being torn out. And I mean, they're not wrong. They're absolutely right. They go on to say, a decade of mediocrity, which is number 4. On the pitch, nothing has improved. Sir Jim promised to restore Manchester United to where it belongs. Instead, standards have sunk further. Last season brought the club's worst league finish in its history. This season, we are already out of every cup competition. Managers are hired, backed briefly, undermined, and discarded. Erik ten Hag survived one result and was gone months later. Ruben Amorim was removed after a heated confrontation with Jason Wilcox. There is no direction, no identity, and no accountability. And that to me is the biggest problem. That to me is why I can't really ever focus on the manager, because that's just how I constantly feel, is that there is no actual direction, there's no identity, there's no accountability. These guys are constantly hiring, briefly backing, and then undermining and discarding. And it's just like, I can't. continue to get excited. Like, I really like Julian Nagelsmann. I like Ancelotti. I like Areola's style of football. I like these guys. If we hire one of them, I'll be a little bit excited, but I'm always going to be like, they're probably just going to fuck him over, which is really unfortunate. Which is also why I fear for Carrick, as I was just talking about, because I think Carrick can just go and build himself up, and then maybe one day he'll return to us as he's always allowed to do. Carrick will always allowed to come back, but I think what he should do is go build yourself up outside of United as big, as hard, as much as possible, and hopefully one day we can sort this shit show of a mess that we have in ownership and management. And then actually, if we get that sorted and you build yourself up, it'll be like a perfect storm. You'll be like a really great manager, and we'll be back into a place where actually the club is running properly. And then boom, all of a sudden, we're looking golden. But just to finish what they said, this is not bad luck. This is systemic failure. On the 1st of February, when Manchester United welcomed Fulham to a broken Old Trafford, the 1958 will march. We march to fight for what is ours. We march to defend our club. We march to demand change. We urge all supporters to stand with us, share our message, get involved. Manchester United was built by its fans. If this club is to be saved, it will be saved by us. And they said, United is broken, but we are not. Hashtag United is broken, and I agree. And I've been saying, oh, it was on the screen. I didn't even know it was on the screen. That wasn't even supposed to happen. So, but I've been adding on to this, and obviously I don't have the platform for it to catch on fire, but I do think that it is quite catchy, and I think we should use it to kind of spit back into the face of Sir Jim Ratcliffe, metaphorically, of course. But you do remember that obviously Sir Jim's famous line was, I'm going to put the Manchester back into Manchester United, which nobody knows what the fuck they were saying. They were saying nobody knows what the fuck that means. Nobody has ever been able to define it. He hasn't ever defined it. And we still don't actually know what that was supposed to actually mean. Yeah, it was just, I guess it just sounded good. Like, I'm going to put the Manchester back into Manchester United. But, what was that? I've been saying it's time, this fan base, and really I'm looking at these big creators. It's time that we put the United back in Manchester United, yeah? Because that's the only way we're going to get something done. That's the only way we're going to get a football club back. Yeah, we have to put the United back into Manchester United. Forget the fucking Manchester part, okay? We need these guys, these people with these platforms to band together and to stick together. And unfortunately, we have spies in this aspect too, because there are people that have done work with the club, that they don't want to lose their access to working with the club. And they will lose their access working with the club if they start calling out the ownership. They will get access removed. And, listen, you're going to have to make a decision on that. And if you think that the cause is bigger than that access, then you make that sacrifice. And if you don't, well, the rest of us will judge you accordingly for what you are. And we need to stick together on that. There's going to be enemies that have platforms that are supposed to be on our side, and they're not going to be on our side. And they're going to play the other side because they want to stay in the good graces. And it's already happening. They're already doing it, some of them. But everybody else, right? Like, listen, I don't necessarily like Saeed's content, yeah? But I wouldn't say that he doesn't genuinely care for the club. I wouldn't say that he doesn't that he would support the Glazers or anything like that, or he's doing anything that would make me feel like he's has some type of partnership with the club where he's not going to say things. So I don't like his content. I don't like some of the things he says, but yeah, he would be a guy like we need to see him and everybody else with a unified message. And these guys, they all put this out, and I'm talking about like Goldbridge put it out, Saeed put it out, Terry Flewers put it out, Alice Talks Football put it out. You know, all the aggregators, they all put that message out that I just read. They all just put that out, and you know, they quoted it. The 1958, saying the statement was released today by a collaboration of online accounts. They've had enough of the Glazers, Ineos, and the way the club treats fans and match-going supporters, the inept running of the club, and the shite we are served up every week whilst expecting us to pay more for the privilege. These accounts have combined reach over 3 million United fans. I think it's way more than that because they get a ton of views. And they said they'll be supporting the protest on the 1st of February before Fulham, putting differences aside to get behind a coordinated collaborative message that will be spread around the world to maximize impact before, during, and after the protest. They also wrote fair play to them. The 1958 United is broken. And this is what I was talking about. And this is what I was saying. These are the people that have to lead this. These are the ones. I will try and do whatever I can. I don't have that big of a voice. I don't have that big of a platform, but I will join in and I will do whatever I can, like I've always done. But these guys need to be the ones. Listen, they're there. They go to the games. They organize these protests at the matches. And I've been saying they need to reach across the aisle. Okay, you might disagree with us. You might not necessarily respect us, and you classify us as online fans, and you might view yourself more important of a fan because you go to the game, or you're in the stadium, or you're actually from Manchester. But when it boils down to it, at this moment in time, I could fucking care less. I don't care if you hold that opinion of me. I will support you, and I everybody else needs to be the same. Like, we need to support each other, because if we can actually stay on point and stay together, we will destroy these people. They actually don't stand a fucking chance if we band together. And I know this because I seen it happen with the Super League. So I know that we could actually do it. The war, the battle is with the Glazers. The war is with ourselves. The war is trying to get this fan base to not rip itself a fucking part, because we sent out this message of unity and it was a nice touch and it was good, and it's got to be followed up by some hardcore action. And, you know, it's got to have things that are more impactful, that are more hard hitting. It's a good start. But this was 2 days ago. Yesterday I go online and, you know, Gary Neville says one fucking thing, and all of a sudden, I'm watching the guys that just put out this message. Now they're fucking arguing with each other and they're attacking each other over fucking some shit Gary Neville said. And it's like, I get it. Like, that's normal. We're going to argue over that shit. But, bro, that shit is all a distraction right now. Forget that fucking bullshit. Forget what Gary Neville said. Forget that bullshit. That guy's going to keep saying things. He's been saying things. We'll take care of Gary Neville after we get the fucking Glazers and Ineos out. Because we can't be arguing amongst each other about, you know, sitting here and talking and arguing with each other, talking about if Mano should start or not, is really, when you deep it, it's really fucking irrelevant, isn't it? Because whoever wins that argument, whether Kobe should be benched or he should be starting, is it going to fucking matter when these guys are running us into the ground and we're having shit seasons and we're sacking the managers and we're going down and we keep continuing to go down and down and down? Not like, you know, it doesn't at the end of the day. So, but again, like, listen, I don't have any, we individually, we don't have any control over the next individual. Everybody has to take it upon themselves to put their egos aside, their differences aside. They need to make the decision themselves. They need to say, okay, I don't really like that guy, but I've had enough of this bullshit. Whatever I got to do to try and make this sort of difference, I got to do it. If that means that I got to get on the phone and I got to fucking talk to Goldbridge for 20 minutes so we can coordinate some sort of shit, then we got to fucking do that. You know what I mean? And that's really the only thing. So, listen, I wish them the best of luck. I hope, so far it's an encouraging start for me. The fact that they've reached out to all these other accounts, because they haven't done that in the past. And in the past, it was still very split because, again, some of those people in the 58, they don't really like the online fan. So they weren't going to them before for help. They were trying to do it themselves. And the fact that they've come back now and they've started this way, for me, is very encouraging. And I hope that they continue to do more things like this. I think it's powerful. And also, I hope whatever they have planned for the protests, I would like to see one that's, listen, I'm not condoning violence, but it needs to cause some sort of, I don't know if mayhem is the right word, but it needs to cause some sort of a problem in terms of, I said it last time, and it might be stupid, it might not work, but as an example, for example, that might cause like, a disturbance of some sort. Take all those people, I don't know how many people actually show up to this protest. It's a lot. You see the pictures. It's a lot of people, yeah? Take all those people, fucking link arms, and go all the way around the fucking stadium in front of the entrances and don't fucking move. And just stand there as long as you can. Just blockade the fucking entrance as long as you can until you get removed or whatever it is. Something that causes some sort of a disturbance to that level. I'm not asking you to fucking punch people. I'm not asking you to try and light shit on fire or anything like that. You don't need to do that. But something to that effect, where if you linked arms and you stood in front of the entrances to all the grounds, to the ground and all the entrances, and you just caused a scene where it's difficult for people to get in, where you are then, unifying in a message, telling the people that you're blocking from going in why you're doing it, you know what I mean? Causing a scene, that getting reported on the news and stuff like that, and social media and stuff like that, like, I think it would go a long way. I would like to see them do something like that. I think they need to kind of hit they need to hit the angle of, and Terry Flowers has been banging on about this for years, and I always agree with him. They got to do something, and I'm not leading it, so I'm not the one that's coming up with the ideas. But they got to figure out something that hits them with the money. They need to hit them with the money. They need the protests are great. Okay, it's a nice strong showing. But again, like Axe said at one point, people look at it from a football standpoint. And I think even the protests, the protest is a little bit like, it's like normal football protests. And I think with the protests that we have to do, it needs to be like business driven. It needs to be like business focused. Because this optics of, in maybe in a normal circumstances, like if you had a normal owner that was like kind of like a football fan and like actually gave a fuck, they might be like, oh shit, like, the fans are walking out in the 20th minute of the game. Like, this is fucking really bad. Like, the supporters are really pissed. But the Glazers don't give a fuck because they already have your money. And they know you're coming back next week as well. You know what I mean? Like, they don't care if you don't enter till the 20th minute. They don't care if you walk out at the 20th minute. They don't care if you leave in the fucking 58th minute. They don't give a shit because they already got your money. And they know that there's a match next week and you're also all going to fucking be there. And they're also going to get your money next week as well. So, I don't know how you get this done because it's a lot of big issues, season ticket holders, and you have fans coming from fucking all around the world that's never seen a match. It's maybe a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for them. Maybe they'll never get the opportunity to do it again. They're going to that match. You know how difficult it is for you to grab that guy and tell him you're not going in the fucking stadium or you shouldn't go in? Like, I understand both sides, but you know what I'm saying? Like, imagine one guy somewhere out there that maybe they don't make a lot of money, yeah? And their dream is to just go to Old Trafford to be there, to watch a game, and they buy the fucking ticket. they saved the money, whatever they saved for the travel and all this shit, and it took them years, and they're going to this match, and then you go to the game, and there's people like, don't go in the fucking stadium. You shouldn't go in the stadium, and they'll be like, yeah, but like, dude, I traveled all the way here, like, I wanted to watch the game. I'm never gonna get this experience again. And like that's one guy. That's one guy from like, out of the area. Then you have people that live in the area, that actually live there, that have season tickets, and then they'll give you a different, thing. Be like, bro, my great grandfather had this ticket. This is his seat. I ain't fucking giving this away. I ain't giving this away. And they'll give it away. That's another scumbag thing that the club does, which is very fucked up, that they're doing to people as well. If you don't go to a certain amount of those games, they will take your fucking ticket from you and they will give it to somebody else. And there is hundreds of thousands of people waiting for that fucking ticket. So it's not only from them. The club is actually the club is actually pinning them in a hard spot as well. You know what I mean? So, I think I missed a lot of I'm gonna run through this. The one thing I think Ollie for is Bruno, and we could have got Haaland for 4 million. Woodward said no. Well, he's an idiot, But yeah, I mean, listen, it was a good signing for Bruno was so. The protests do nothing. Well, yeah, that's because I think they're kind of ineffective. Like the way they go about them, Richard, is ineffective. I think there's ways that I don't know all the possible options because I'm not like in I'm not over there. I'm not like involved in the like the local movement and stuff like that. So I don't know all the aspects. I can't plan properly, right? I don't have all the details. They obviously know better because they're there. They live there. They go to the games. They're from the area. They know what they can and can't do or whatever. But what I'm saying is like it has to have a goal to it. I think some of the things they were doing was like they thought like, oh, if you go to the stadium, you hold up these banners and you get the media to talk about it, it'll be enough. And it's like, no, but it's not enough. Like, that's a good start, but it's not enough. There's got to be some sort of an end goal to it. There's got to be some sort of an end game where you hit the pockets. Because, again, we're looking at it like, you have fans holding up the banners and shit like that and people singing songs. And you're like, yeah, that's, most people would be like, oh, that's a very bad look for somebody. But it's like, when the Glazers are in the position they're in, they don't give a fuck because that's not affecting them. You know what I mean? That's not affecting them. And what affects them is money, which is why when the Super League thing happened and it was COVID and there was no fans, that's what scared them the most. It was because there was no fans in the ground, so they already lost the revenue and they couldn't afford to not have the games on TV. And also, I think what scared them was it was COVID. People weren't supposed to necessarily go outside and go in groups. And a shit ton of people, massive amount of people, showed up and fucking got a match called off. And I think they literally shit themselves. Because they were like, not only are we not getting match day ticket revenue right now, but also these people have just showed up in fucking massive numbers in a pandemic where they're not even supposed to be together and they're not even supposed to be outside. And they disregarded all of that to come and call off a fucking game. And they got the game called off as well. That made them shit. They were fucking so scared that they put up fences the next day so that they made it harder to get the next game called off. And then they backtracked fast as fuck and they threw Ed Woodward under the table, saying it was all his idea about the Super League and the Glazers had nothing to do with it, which is fucking hilarious to believe that. But yeah, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, they got so scared by that because they knew, like, this is bad. This is bad. Like, these guys have gotten together and we need to fucking break them back up because if they stick together, we are so fucked. We are so fucked. Because once you stop that money rolling in, that's when it goes backwards for them. And if it starts going backwards for them, well, you're stopping the whole process. The value ain't going up. And if the value ain't going up, you're losing money. You know. You're losing money. We keep destroying what we're built every year and a half. That's the sad part of it. That a year and a half from now, this will be in the same position we are. No, and probably. I mean, there's nothing to indicate, nothing at all that we've seen in the past 12 years to indicate that it's going to be any different. So I think we all just have to assume that it's going to be the same until maybe one day it isn't. And that's what I expect to keep happening, and why I was so adamant of not trying to absolutely murder Ruben Amorim, because I was just like, we're going to fucking sack this guy. We're going to get another guy, and the same shit's probably going to happen anyway. And I'm just like, I want to fucking, I just want to fix the other things so we can go back to normal life, so we can actually have like, and sit down and just be like, and just, you know, actually have like, be able to be in a position where we could be like, yeah, the manager's not good enough. We need another one. And then we're like, okay. And then we get one, and like things actually change, and then like things could actually improve. And then like, you know, they're absolutely right. This club belongs to the working class people. Yeah, but you know, they're trying to fucking take it away. They're trying to take it away. And, you know, that's why I envy. And I think a lot of you from the other side of the pond, as they say, I think a lot of you, if any of you, I don't know if any of you specifically, but there are people, you know, the Europeans, they're looking at, they want to come here for the World Cup, and a lot of them are finding out, you know, life in terms of that, like, you guys, like, some of you don't really understand that. Like, I don't want to say that. It's more of like, I envy just the culture of the sport and what it means to the people of the country. Yeah, because it is still very, it may be less now, but it is still very working class. And obviously that's where it came from. And, you know, every year that goes by, they're trying to take a little bit more out of it. And, you know, I always like, I'm just like, don't fucking let it happen. Don't let it happen. Cause I kind of view football, especially, you know, in the UK and in Europe, I view it as, it's like the last standing bastion of like it's like, you know, for the people of, to a certain extent, that it's not as commercialized as the sports here. And the sports here are so commercialized. It's all about advertisements, and it's all about money, and it's all about like, you know, and it, like, it's not as competitive. And, you know, it's just like look at the NFL. There's no fucking relegation. There's no like penalties. You can suck all you want. You know what happens when you suck in the NBA or the NFL? They give you the top. They give you the first pick for the kids, the draft. They give you the first pick next season. You do absolutely shit. You are the worst team the entire season, and then they're like, here you go. You get first choice to pick the best up and coming new players. You know, there's no repercussions. There's no nothing. Also, like, I watch the sport. It's always commercials. It's always like stoppages, commercials, this and that. It's all about that. Football doesn't have that, and the prices are pretty decent. Like, I know they're getting more expensive there, but like, dude, to go to a game here, for any game, like a basketball game or like an NFL game, is fucking so expensive compared to, like, you know, a regular ticket at Old Trafford. And I'm like, it's fucking crazy, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. So I'm like, and I see what they're doing. They're trying, because now they're seeing. Yeah, now they're seeing, and they're looking at football. They're looking at football. Yeah, not American football. They're looking at football And they're saying that this is a place where it hasn't been commercialized to the extent of how we commercialized everything. This is a place where we can make a shit ton of fucking money. And they're trying to dig their little greedy hands into it and rip it the fuck apart. And, you know, they've made a little bit of stride, but they haven't completely taken it over. And people are holding out, and they're having a hard time trying to do this, yeah? Like, you know, I'm seeing... I'm pretty sure yesterday there was an NBA game. It was played in Germany at 2 p.m. 2 p.m. here. Now, 2 p.m. here, everybody's fucking working. Nobody's watching that game. Everybody's still at work. So, and this is what they're trying to do. So they already started doing it with the NBA. They already started doing it with the NFL. They're flying. How many games did they have in the UK this season? You know, they're going over there because they're trying to get exposure. They're trying to, you know, make it bigger and shit. And they were trying to do vice versa with United. I'm pretty sure wasn't the El Clasico just played in fucking Saudi Arabia? You know, to me that's crazy. To me that's like that's stupid. You have two Spanish teams, and you're playing the final not in fucking Spain. But you went to go play it in Saudi, in the middle of fucking nowhere? And when I say the middle of nowhere, I mean like the middle of nowhere because your fan base comes from Spain. Your fans are there. The clubs are rooted there. And you went to go play the final in some fucking random country that has nothing to do with your clubs. And I don't want to see that happen. You know, even if they offered me the chance and they're like, you can watch a Premier League game, yeah, between Manchester United and Liverpool that counts for 3 points in the middle of the season, and we will play it in New York for you, and you can go there. I don't want that. I don't want that. No. Play it in fucking Old Trafford or play it at Anfield and leave it there. I don't want them to come. I don't want to go to MetLife Stadium and watch Manchester United versus Liverpool for 3 points in the Premier League at fucking at MetLife Stadium. I don't want that. I don't want that. No. Keep it over there. Don't destroy this fucking sport. All they say is true, however. If we have an unlimited cash machine, what do I care about people protesting in England? Well, that's the thing. And that's why they need to do something about the money, Richard. So I get your point, and I agree. I mean, I think, listen, if you're just going to do what they've been doing already in the past, it's all pretty pointless because they're not going to get anywhere, are they, Richard? You know? And it's literally that line of thinking. Like, it's literally just straight facts, you know? If I have a mega cash machine and everybody else is a fucking piece of dirt or an ant, well, what the fuck do I care? You know what I mean? Well, you don't matter to me. Oh, boo-hoo. Bunch of you got fucking angry and you held up a sign that said Glazers Out. Thanks for your money. You know, thanks for your money. Like, you know, I'm being a bit, you know, I'm playing Glazers advocate here, okay? Like, if I'm one of them, I'm sitting there and I'm looking, I'm like, oh, isn't that cute? Little Jimmy bring a fucking banner that says Glazers Out. What a dumbass. That guy gave me money. He's also wearing a kit, so he gave me even more money. Then he probably got hungry and went to the concession stand inside the stadium and gave us more money. You know what I mean? Like, and they're just sitting there and they're like, yeah, they could literally, like, you know, make a puppet out of my head and put it on a stick and fucking parade it around the stadium for all I give a fuck. As long as you come to the stadium, you give me money. As long as you keep buying the kits. As long as you have a subscription to MUTV. And, you know, I don't fucking care. You know. Go to the stadium, have 70,000 people fucking while I'm sitting in the director's box. Have them moon me. What do I give a fuck? You paid me, didn't you? You're still giving the thing that I own money. I'm still going to make money. What's the difference? You don't matter to me. You're literally insignificant. You are insignificant. Like, your opinion doesn't matter. Your lives don't matter to me. Nothing about you matters at all. Except that you take the cash that you worked so hard for, and you put it in my fucking bank account. Eric, want more people come outside the stadium, watch games, pubs, demand ahead of Glazers mishaps. Yeah, it's very hard. It's very difficult, but we'll see. United fans unite. This is a fight in which you only stand to lose your chuckles. Richard says the 1958 are correct, but please understand they do not care. I was on 2 of the protests, Eric. It makes no difference. Well, again, what I'm saying is, though, it's the way they go about it. You need to make the protests effective. So, there needs to be an end goal to the protest. There needs to be an objective to hit. If you just go around and you say we're going to protest, okay, there's been many protests throughout the history of time, okay, for many different things, of all different types of things. And the ones that have been the most successful are the ones that were able to cause disruption. There's always been some level of, violence, but I'm not asking people to do violence because I don't think we need it. I think there's a way to disrupt them. But you need to target that, and you need to make that one of your goals. And they haven't done that so far. So this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm looking to see what they're going to do. Now, they're doing this one against Fulham. I don't know exactly how they're going to go about it. It depends what they do. But I would encourage them, listen, maybe this is the first one that's going to kick off, and then they're going to plan to do more. I would encourage them to try and do something. I don't know what would actually work, but at this point in time, I would fucking try anything, dude. I would try anything. I would try to get as many people as possible and fucking block every entrance to the stadium. And stop people from going in. And it's going to piss off a bunch of people that don't really want to take part in the protest and they just want to go in the game. But so fucking be it. Gotta cause an inconvenience. Gotta, those people, maybe they're not aware of the situation. Enlighten them. And also stop them from going in. And then maybe do it again. And maybe, just be a pain in the ass for you to go to the game. And maybe a bunch of people will be like, listen, I'm not even going to bother to try and go. It's really fucking annoying to go now. There's all these people that keep blocking the entrances and it's fucking, the lines are too long and I'm getting into the matches late and fuck it, I'm not even going to go. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here off the top of my head. But, bro, people have done sit-ins and shit like that. There's a way that you can do this. For me, I think you need both. You need an online one. You need to get people, and listen, we can't control them, so we have to trust them. You need online people to not buy shit. Don't buy the merch. Don't buy the kits. Don't buy the fucking jackets. If you have an MUTV subscription, fucking cancel the thing. Don't buy this shit online. That hurts them. Maybe we can organize some sort of a blackout where we try not to go into the stadium, as many people as possible, and then we try to get as many people as possible to not watch the match on TV. I don't know. Will those things necessarily work? Maybe not, but I think it's different than what they've tried to do. And I think those are targeted a little bit more in terms of you're trying to target the money. You're trying to hit the pocket. Whereas what they've done before and just, going in the stadium holding up a banner, you're not targeting the money, are you? So, and I'm sure there's some brilliant people out there that can come up with some brilliant ideas. I'm not the fucking master of everything. I'm sure there's tons of people out there that go in the protests. I'm sure there's some that are brilliant people that can have some brilliant ideas. They need to try them. They need to try everything and anything that can target the money. Like Ray says, stop buying United merchandise from the club. There is other sources to buy merchandise from it. And that's true as well. But, a unified message for that, it has to be coordinated, okay? The more coordinated it is, the more organized it is, the more that you have. Listen, you don't have to like these people, but they have an influence. They have a fan base. Like if you have Goldbridge and Terry Flewers and whoever else you want to mention that has a platform, if all these guys are coming out and every day they're saying, don't buy the merch, don't buy the merch, we're boycotting the merch, we're boycotting the merch, and they're going to include themselves. We're boycotting the merch. I'm not buying the merch. He's not buying the merch. We're not buying. People will feel more inclined to join. Okay? People will feel like they're going to be a part of something and they will join. And they might not necessarily be on side right now, but you can get them on side by showing that, oh shit, you know what? A lot of people are fucking doing this. A lot of people have actually joined in here. It gives them the sense of feeling like, oh, this might actually have a chance. This might actually have some traction to it. They feel good about it and they want to join in. But there's got to be a unified message in that, you know. Like Ray says, like no offense to Ray, but Ray himself saying this, Ray is just a member here. Nobody's going to see this. But these guys that have millions and millions of followers and views, if all of them come out and they say this, and they're saying this for fucking every show they do every single day, that's going to be effective to some degree. And so they need to collaborate. This is what I'm saying. The 58's got their protests. They got to collaborate online, and they got to start targeting the money. You know, Terry Flewers has been saying this for years, and I agree with him. You got to target the fucking money. That's what they care about. That's what holds them here. Nothing else will work until you target the money. So we need to target the money. And, you know, we had some decently okay campaigns online in the past, but it fell short from the other side. So, you know, we need to target the money from all aspects. It's very hard. It sounds way easier to just talk about it. It's very hard because this fan base is very big and there's all different types of people that have all different types of, you know, opinions, thoughts, attitudes, feelings, and shit like that. And, you know, like, I'm not like calling out Richard, but like, I'm just saying, like, there will be people that just will be like, listen, I'm not bothered. It doesn't do anything. And they just won't partake because they just feel like it's a waste of time. And it's unfortunate because, you know, that might be one guy, but there's so many of us. There's hundreds of millions of us, you know, when it's one guy, but there's definitely more than one person that feels that way. And then if you actually count them all up, well, that makes a significant amount of people. And if they felt the other way, well, then now you have 50,000 people on board instead of 50,000 people not on board, you know. Who everybody lives in Manchester should put pressure on the mayor not to fund the stadium. Well, maybe they should do that. But again, I would leave that up to the people of Manchester. And I would entrust that up to them, you know. I heard that the other day. I think that's not a bad idea. It actually sounds like a really good idea, something that would be quite effective to do. But ultimately, I don't live in Manchester. I'm not from Manchester, and that's up to them. And they need to be the ones that make that decision and make that call, and then they got to organize it and execute it. So, you know, it's on them. It's on them. And I hope I would hope they do it. I wish they would do it. But ultimately, I'm not going to curse them out, and I'm not going to attack them if they don't do it. You know, I'll be disappointed. I'll be let down because I feel like there's something they could have done and they didn't do it. But ultimately, they are the ones that have to make this decision. I've seen too many times in the past where we ripped ourselves apart because what happened is the online fans started attacking the match-going fans, and the match-going fans started attacking the online fans, and the whole fucking thing fell apart because it came down to season tickets. Because everybody started pointing out, they were like, you need to cancel the season tickets because that's guaranteed money to the Glazers, and they're not going to fucking go anywhere if you keep giving them the money. But then that was really bad because the online fans started getting nasty with the season ticket holders, calling them fucking, you know, Glazer funders and this and that and whatever, and, you know, talking shit to them. And then the match-going fans started attacking the online fans, saying, you guys aren't even the real fans. We don't fucking want you. Fuck off. Go support some other team, blah, 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 you know. And we destroyed ourselves over it. We destroyed ourselves, and the whole thing fucking collapsed. Which is why I'm not trying to do that like that. That's why I'm not trying to. Everybody has their story, okay? But at the end of the day, everybody needs to come to the decision on their own. They need to be willing to make the sacrifice. And if they're not willing to make the sacrifice, there's nothing you can't force them into making the sacrifice. If you try to force them to make the sacrifice, you're going to push them away even further, and they're also then it's going to be very counterproductive. I've seen it play out in real time, so it's like Lucky says the best way to hurt scumbags running the club on day-to-day basic. Axe says absolutely. I mean, imagine giving the Glazers billions of pounds out of the local budget just for them to sell at a higher price. Well, I mean, there was a girl that was, I think she was on Talk Sport. I think she's kind of new to the scene. I haven't really seen her before, but she was talking about that the other day as well, and that's what I was mentioning. And I talked about it a couple of days, and I was like, listen, I don't really know, but I was like, I know gentrification, and they've done it here. And she said the same thing I said. She's like, listen, she's like, that's not even a good deal. She said, all those people that live there, all those people that live in that area right now, she's like, all those people are going to get fucked out of their homes because they're not going to be able to afford it. You know, they're not going to be able to afford it. They might let them afford it in the beginning, but they won't be able to sustain that, and they're going to have to fucking leave. And what's going to happen is that's going to become some, like, you know, rich socialized area, socialite area. And it's not going to be, like Axe said, it's not going to be for the working class. It's not going to be for the people. It's going to be for the fucking elites, which is just makes sense. I mean, you're putting in all that money in that area. You're revitalizing and regenerating the whole fucking thing. Well, you don't do that without expecting money to come back in return. Yeah? Lauren says, I'm glad those people you mentioned are backing the message because all were pushing for Ruben sacking a fortnight ago and arguably gave the board license to do it. Well, yeah, I mean, listen, Axe might have been a bit right on that one in terms of that, you know, maybe that needed to happen for these other people to sort of open their eyes so that they can understand and you know, they can move past sort of the manager conversation and discussion and start focusing on the owners and shit like that. But my thing is that we've done that before anyway. So, you know, the problem with it is like it's like the thing I said about the shiny new toy. Like that's already happened, like, you know, 4 times. Every time we get to the sacking of some sort of a manager, and then we want to protest, and then we want to boycott, and then we want to do things, and we want to talk about the owners, and then they get you a shiny new toy, and everybody wants to shut up and give it another go. So, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Glad we ended as friends. Everyone stay in the chat, stay safe. Love you all. Come on, United. We should petition even the sponsor global wise. Somebody have to create a petition global wise against the sponsors. Yeah, we'll see you later, Richard. Axe says most expensive tickets in the World Cup history, bro. What the fuck? Yeah, because that's America, bro. It's America, bro. We got the money. We got the money. Bro, I know people here, listen, I know people here, okay, that are fans of the sport, and they have bought in tickets. Now, I haven't bought in a ticket. I'm not going to buy a ticket, because as much as I love the sport, first of all, my country's not actually in it, okay? Well, one of my countries is in it, yeah? But they're not going to fucking make it that far. I mean, they're not that great, the U.S. My other country is never going to be in it, so, you know. But these other guys, like they're Portuguese or whatever, Portugal is going to be in it, they're going to do decently well, yeah? They're going to go far. Bro, these guys have already bought like 4 games, and they don't give a fuck. They don't care. They don't care about the price. This is what I'm telling you. Like, people on the other side, they raise your ticket price by £20, and you guys all lose your fucking shit. And when you compare it to our prices, like, I would say it's not even that expensive. To you guys, it might be expensive over there, because maybe the cost of living is a bit different and shit. But when I compare it, I'm like, dude, I want to go just to have a chill night and watch a basketball game. I got to pay $250 just for the fucking ticket. Then I got a transportation. And, you know, if you're getting food, the food is expensive. It's like $40 for 3 chicken fingers, 3 chicken strips, and some fucking fries or something like that. You know. But this is what I'm saying. Like, they come here, right? And here, like, people have money, like, and they don't care. Like, they'll spend it on fucking, they don't give a, I was listening the other day. They're like, yeah, I bought 4 tickets. I don't give a fuck what the price is. I'm going for sure. I'm going for sure. I don't care. I don't care what the price is. I'm going for sure. And they bought the tickets. You know, they sell them. They know what they're doing. It's the same thing when United goes on tour. Like, I went because I wanted to see United, and that matters a bit more to me than the World Cup. But, bro, you paid $300, $400 for a preseason game in a decent seat. You know, it's not front row, but decent seat. Decently good seat. $300, $400 for a preseason game. You don't even see the full team. Half the team is there, and it doesn't mean anything. It's preseason. There's no 3 points. It's not for a trophy. It's not for a cup competition. But that's why they come here, because they know that they can charge $400 here, and nobody's gonna fucking say anything. They're gonna buy it. Imagine they tried to charge $400 a ticket as a normal standard ticket at fucking Old Trafford. They'd fucking burn it to the ground. In a mutiny, they'd go fucking crazy. They'd be like, "What are you, nuts?" This is why they're trying to. This is why they wanted to do the Super League, because they can then go all around the world and they can charge whatever ridiculous prices they want that they know that they can't do to the people in England where the clubs are. Like Manchester, they can't charge over, like they try little by little and everybody fights back, and sometimes they win just a slight bit. But bro, these people, and it's not just United, it's everybody else as well. They want to upcharge like fucking $300 on the ticket, 300, whatever it is, pounds. They want to put more. They want to mark it up by like 150%. They just can't, because they'll be met with ultimate resistance. But if they can get a game, if they could get Chelsea versus Liverpool and play it in California, they're going to charge $500, $600, fucking $700, $800 to go watch that match. They can't do that in England. I need to go. My Sport Wolf battery is too low. All right, let's see you. Ray says, I think you can keep your season ticket. Don't go to the game. Empty stadium, strong signal more than a protest. Well, they can only do that so many times, yeah? But it would be big if they could do that. But the problem, Ray, is I don't know what the rule is, yeah? But they have some sort of rule. So they have to go to a certain amount of games. And if they don't go to a certain amount of games, the club can, without anything, the club can take their ticket and give it to somebody else and sell it to somebody else. And that person that paid for that ticket, they don't get their money back. So not only did they lose the money, they also lost now their seat, and they're never going to get it back. So there's only a certain, I think, listen, if you do it like once or twice and you don't actually go to the game, you'll be fine. But they can't do it forever. They can't do it forever, because if they don't go to a certain amount of games, the club literally takes the tickets away and they sell it to somebody else. It's 40 years old now, the expanding Salford Quay's development, so there is some inevitability that it will come for that corner of Old Trafford. Lucky says, me and my friends boycott a long time ago since Jose Mourinho departure. Eric have noticed something, Tottenham Hotspur season tickets. Well, yeah, I mean, listen, it's good for you, Lucky, that you're doing that. And I wish more people, and I hope more people do what you did, man, and just take it upon yourself and say, I don't stand for this shit, and, I'm not going to go to the games, and I'm not going to buy the fucking merch, and, it sucks because I want to go to the games, and I want to buy the merch, and I want to support the team, but but that's what I'm saying. You need the people to, and this is, I was thinking, Max said it last time, and I've seen some other people say it before, and I kind of disagreed with it because I feel like there could be a negative, there could be like a very big negative impact to it. But maybe, just maybe, it might be wrong, might be right, but maybe this shit really needs to like kind of burn and crash to the ground. Maybe it needs to get like, people think it's horrible now. Maybe it needs to be like 3 times worse than what it is now. Maybe it needs to be like so fucking just unbelievably, disgustingly bad before the ones that are not on our page decide to join our page, because we need those people, and there's only so much you can do to get those people. You can't force people into, specifically in this situation, you can't force them. You know what I mean? You can't force them. Like, if they are unwilling to give up their season ticket, you arguing and fight, it's only going to cause more division. It's only going to push that person further away. And and at the end of the day, they're not going to give up the season ticket. They need to one day sort of wake up, or something has to happen done by the football club where they just go, nah, fuck this, man. Like, I'm just gonna give it up. Like, fuck this. Like, I don't want this fucking thing anymore. I don't want to pay for this. I don't want to pay for this. And yeah, to get a bunch of people to do that, it's got to be something that's just highly sort of disastrous, highly just viewed as highly disgusting to many people. And yeah, that, that, and to me that one was the Super League. So I think it was a bit, I don't know, you can't say. It would have been interesting if we could go back in time and maybe like, just like, if there wasn't COVID, it would have been interesting to see how that went down when they tried to do it. Like, if it was normal times and there was people actually like allowed in the stadiums, like how that actually would have went about. Would it have been bigger? Would it have been as effective? Would we have gotten the game? Would we have still gotten that match called off? Or, would we be in a fucking Super League right now? But yeah, something like that was like, that was something that everybody, and it had to do with a lot of every other club as well, but everybody found it highly disgusting, highly, like a fucking abomination, just, complete disgrace, that everybody banded together. And we probably need something like that specifically for Manchester United, and I don't know what it is per se, but something to that matter, where just people just go, no more, fuck you, take the season tickets, fuck off. So same Chelsea, I don't know, just all right. But listen, we've been live for like 3 hours, so we're gonna get out of here. Quick rundown for the game. I didn't even talk about the game really, but Michael Carrick's first game in charge. I hope we win. I mean, we're gonna be home, so let's see what happens. City has some players out, right? So it's let me see. I gotta pull this up. Where's my stuff? I'm not gonna do a watch along because it's too early. So I would have done a watch along, but it's too. I'm not waking up that early. So it's already early enough for me. I'm gonna be tired as fuck too. It'll probably be a terrible watch along. I'll probably be half asleep trying to watch it. So I think City have some injuries, yeah. So they have no Savinho, they have no John Stones, no Marmouche, no Kovacic, no Oscar Bob, no Guardiola, no Ruben Diaz, and Nico Gonzalez is doubtful. We apparently Maguire is back. Mazawari's not available. Shea Lacey got suspended, and so he played with the under 21s anyway. And Mateus DeLitt is still out. So, yeah, we're obviously gonna play probably most likely either a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-4-1-1, something to that effect. Bruno's definitely going to start. Sesko, I would imagine, is going to start as well. And then Buemo is going to come back into the team. So, for sure, it's going to be interesting to see if he plays Buemo and Diallo, because they are the two real wingers, which would mean that Cunha wouldn't find a spot. Cunha wouldn't find a spot on the starting pitch, and neither would Mason Mount. And it's going to be interesting to see what he does in the midfield as well. Is he going to go with a double defensive pivot, which would be Casemiro and Ugarte? Or is he going to try to get Mainu in there? And then in the back, Delo has to start by default because there's no Maz. And I guess Luke Shaw is going to end up going back to a left back. And if Maguire is fit, maybe Maguire comes back in, and I expect Lizandro to play, and of course, and then Sonny Lemons. So, but some of the streaks here, let's just go real quick. Might be a surprise. City possibly fatigued. Well, listen, I think tomorrow, I think anything can happen. And I don't know what's going to happen. Like, I'm not going to say we're going to win. And I'm not going to say we're necessarily, going to lose. Like it's almost guaranteed. I think, number one, when there's a derby, all form and all that shit goes out the door. It's a derby. Like, anything can happen as it is. But also now you got Carrick here, and it's just going to be different. So he might do something, and it sets up the team in a way, and they just go out and do a fucking job. I don't know. It's very hard to know what we're kind of going to get. I mean, we could go out tomorrow, and they can look sort of like how they've been looking for weeks now, whether it was under Fletcher or Ruben, and they could put in like a half-ass performance and maybe give you like a good 30 minutes and then just fucking be disasters for the other 70 minutes, or maybe they come out fired up and they fucking want to go out there and like destroy these guys, and maybe they put off an excellent performance, and they get a big result at Old Trafford in front of the crowd, and Michael Carrick's first game, and they sort of announce like, let's fucking go. I think tomorrow, literally, anything is possible. Like, maybe we beat them 3-1. Maybe they beat us 3-0. I don't really know. But with some of this sort of the team streaks, City have no losses in 13. And United have no wins in 4. We also have no clean sheet in 4. So that's, there in City's last 4 out of 5 matches, there has been under 3 goals scored in the totality of those games. So from both teams, in 9 out of 10 of the last matches that Manchester United played, 9 out of 10 of them, both teams have scored. City has scored the first goal in 8 out of their 9 last matches. And then head to head, so specifically United versus City, there has been over 2.5 goals, so at least 3 goals in 8 out of the last 10 times that we've played Manchester City, and that's it. In terms of that, the other ones is cards and corners, so nobody cares about that. And then the last 10 matches, how it's been split over the last 10 times we've played each other. United have won 3. City, we've tied twice. And then City have won 5 times. So, listen, it's not even like... It's not like, it's totally lopsided. I mean, it's been a bit of back and forth. They've had, they've won 2 more times than we've won, and then we split 2 games as well. So, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I'm excited just to see what we're gonna kind of get. I hope that it's just like, I just hope they put up a good fight, and I hope they just show like something. I don't. I don't. If we look anything like we done under some of the games under Ruben, or even the 2 matches against Burnley, like, they're gonna beat our ass, we're gonna get fucking ripped apart. Because I didn't particularly like either performances, the Burnley performance or the Brighton performance. I didn't like any one of them. I actually thought that those 2 performances might have been some of our worst performances that we've had all season, and we've had some shit performances and the results, but we just didn't look up for it at all. We didn't look ready for it at all, and then also the results were bad. So, I didn't want to go too heavy on it because of Fletcher, and I don't think it's like his fault. I didn't want him to get pinned for that, but now Carrick is here, and he's going to be here for the next 6 months. So they need to fucking, and we still have a season. So the players need to, stand the fuck up. And you already got 1 manager sacked. Yeah. You couldn't even put a half good performance in for the fucking guy that came in for 2 matches to hold us over. You couldn't even do him a favor in terms of like, bro, just get the guy a fucking win or something. Put in a half decent performance for the guy. He's in a fucked situation where he's trying to help you guys out, and you guys didn't really help out. And now this guy, like, again, like, I'm gonna be looking at the players like, bro, step up. This guy came in. He didn't have to come in here. He took it out of, the opportunity, but also his love for United, and we need fucking help. And he said that he's coming here to try and help us. So, players fucking help him. He came in on Wednesday. Game is Saturday. He's going to need you so that he doesn't get fucking embarrassed in his first match at Old Trafford as a manager. Like, don't fuck him over. Go put out a fight and try and actually win the game. We need them to do that. So, Eric, have seen that Chelsea fans trust their ownership. Well, I mean, listen, their ownership's a bit different, and they're doing some different things. And again, I mean, they haven't been with them for long, so it's a bit difficult when you're there, because you can make arguments for both sides, to trust them, to not to trust them. And it hasn't ultimately yielded a lot of necessarily success, but there is some positives, but there's also some, baffling things going on. So it's part of that process. Like, listen, ultimately, if their ownership is bad, it'll reveal itself after a period of time, So, all I want is defense spaces tight by games, City and Arsenal games, Harry Maguire, Leniora, Lisandro, Casemiro. Well, we can only play 2 of those guys, you know that, right? Shut all down, go attack set pieces and free kicks. Really don't, bro, what's going to happen? Casemiro, Mason Mount, Bruno Fernandes. Must start Patrick, Dorgu, Amad Diallo, Xerxes. I don't know. We'll see. I think we might be in for a bit of a surprise as well. I mean, I think if you remember, when Carrick took over, I don't know if it was from Mourinho, I'm pretty sure. Didn't he fucking bench Was it Mourinho or was it Solskjaer? Didn't he bench somebody? He benched somebody like immediately. Maybe it was Solskjaer. Didn't he bench like Ronaldo or Bruno or something like that? He fucking benched him the first game he played. He benched him. So maybe he does the same, you know, and maybe we'll be in a bit of a surprise, or maybe it'll be standard. But we will definitely be live after the match to discuss the derby with the Red Devil recap. So shout out to everybody that tuned in. Thank you for your support. Thank you to everybody that smashed the like button. I believe we got 17 likes, so thank you for the support. That's massive, and thank you to everybody that did that. That always makes it good. Thank you to everybody that subscribed to the channel. And yeah, just shout out to all of you for the support. I know it's been a little bit weird with the scheduling. It's going to continue to be a bit weird. And I just seen that it just shot up to 19. So shout out to you guys as well, to the guys that just liked right now. Greatly appreciate that. I know the schedule has been a little bit all over the place, and it's you know, it's a bit hard. So it's always good that, like, you know, I go sort of missing for a couple days and I come back, and, you know, the support is always still here. I mean, to not do a show, I think the last show I did was like 3 or 4 days ago or something like that. To not do a show for 3 or 4 days and come back and get, you know, 19 likes, and this much people involved in the chat and giving opinion and sticking around for a 3-hour show is, you know, fantastic. So it's always greatly appreciated. We will be live after the match concludes tomorrow, and we will be doing the Red Devil recap. We are going to discuss the match, break it down, give our thoughts and opinions as we always do, and then we'll see going from there. I think Sunday will be a no-go because I can't do it at the time, so I have an NFL commitment. I'm so American of me, right? I have an NFL commitment. I believe my team is playing at 3 p.m., which would be 8 p.m. UK, which is the time we usually do the show. So I'm going to have to not do it on Sunday. But as things stand right now, it looks like I should be able to probably do one for Monday as well. So right now, my plan in my head is we do Red Devil recap tomorrow. Maybe I do a double, because since the game is so early, maybe we could do a Red Devil recap. Maybe we won't do it so long. And then later on, back at 8:15 p.m. UK, we'll go back live same day tomorrow. And we'll do like a regular show. And then Sunday, we'll skip it. And then Monday, we'll come back. That's how I see it. Mr. Reynoso says it's because you cuss and keep it real. I appreciate the last part. I mean, my cussing might be a bit of a problem. I think sometimes I say to myself, I say I cuss way too much, man. I cuss way too much. It is a bit of a problem though, because it's like I don't think about it. You know what I mean? I don't think like, oh, insert cuss word there because it's gonna sound good. It's so like it's like, you know, I don't think about it. It's just subconscious. Like it's just like, and I think that's kind of bad. You know, I think that's kind of bad because I do curse a lot, way more than I probably should. So, but it's kind of hard to stop because it's like ingrained. It's like automatic. You know, But I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So, how's that hike, by the way? You're on that hike still, yeah? Chelsea do a lot wrong. Renosa says nah. Well, it is what it is, you know. That's always what I try to do. So I try to just keep it real, man. You know, I don't think there's any other way. And you listen. Some people don't like it. You get hated for it. I've always argued, and I said, listen, there's way easier ways to go about this, and I could play some bit, and I could play some role, and I could play some sort of a character, and maybe I'd get way more views, and I'd get way more likes, and I'd get way more clicks, but I don't like that. I don't like that, because then once you get to a spot, it's like, well, you know, what's that? You're going to pretend so that you get all the views and you build it up, and then halfway through you're going to switch up and start acting, you know, different. You're going to start acting like yourself. I don't really believe that. I don't really believe in that. I don't like that. I don't like that. I get it, and people do it, and I get it. And listen, if that's what you want to do, it's your life, man. You choose to, but I don't got to do it, and I don't want to do it. Done with the hike. Well, that's good. I need to go for one as well. So yeah, I've been slacking a little bit on the exercise. You know what I mean? Lucky says Ugarte needs bench. I thought you missed a shot there. You said you should have said Lucky Ugarte needs to go for a hike, like, get out of our football club. Maybe Luke Shaw in that camp. Yeah, you missed an opportunity there, Lucky. You could have said Ugarte needs to go for a hike. Out of my football club. Yeah, but listen, we're not gonna do any business, right? So. He'll be here to the end of the season, and then guess we'll see. I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see what happens. If you shave and stop cussing all of a sudden, we'll know you sold out. Well, listen, either that or I'm being held at gunpoint by the Glazers and Sir Jim Ratcliffe. So, if I shave and I stop cussing, and I start saying strange things, and I blink my eyes like 7 times, just know that Sir Jim is behind me with the gun to my head. Okay, that's we should come up with a safe for it just in case that happens. Only something that they wouldn't understand. So when I say it, you guys will all know, and then you could contact the authorities for me and get me out of that hostage situation. But yeah. You know what? It's funny, Rose. So I was thinking the other day, and I was like, you know what? I was like, I might just. I was like, I haven't shaved, clean shaven in such a long time, like a long time. And I was thinking about, I was like, maybe I'll do it one day. But then I was like, you know what though? I was like, I don't know how I'll look, in terms of like, I don't know if I'll like it. And I was like, if I don't like it, I was like, I gotta go on camera all the time. And I was like, I was like, I don't want to. I was like, I was like, I want to go on camera and like be on something and look a way like that I won't like, So I was like, I was like, I don't think I'm gonna do it, But it's funny that you said that. It's funny that you said that. Because I was literally thinking about it yesterday. I was like, you know what? I was like, maybe I should do a clean shave and see how it goes. So now I can't even do that, because if I shave, Reynoso's gonna think that I sold out. So everybody's gonna think I'm a sellout. So I can't even shave anymore. So that's out the window. That's done. We're never shaving again, ever. I do have to go get a haircut though, for real. Maybe I'll take care of that in the next day or two or something like that. So. But yeah, anyway, I'm fucking, I'm waffling now. So, we're gonna get out of here. Again, thank you guys. Thank you to everybody for your support. I greatly appreciate it. I don't know why my head does this. It's so weird. But yeah, tomorrow we'll be live. Make sure you pull up. I want to hear from all of you. I want to see you all. I want to hear you guys after the match. We need your support. We always need your support. So, pull up. And hopefully we have something to celebrate and talk positive about and be happy, and we could all, cheer together and, just have like a happy Saturday and therefore a happy weekend. And we could go from there. Hopefully we win. Hopefully we win. I'm excited to see the match. I hope, listen, as I said, I don't like to lose. I hate losing, but there's also a way to lose, If the team goes out there and they put in a performance that everybody could be proud of, and we lose the match 2-1, I can't be too upset. I'll be okay, I'll be like, I'll have some pride in it, because I'll be like, they put the fight, they fucking battled hard, they left everything out there on the pitch, they just, they didn't have enough to get the result. But what I'm afraid of is, because we just don't know what we're gonna get, I'm afraid if I see a half-assed performance, man, I'm afraid of that. But I don't want to. Nobody wants to watch that. Nobody wants to watch us out there play like 10 good minutes and then for 40 minutes, we look fucking lost and we don't know what we're doing. And we just look absolutely horrible. And we look like a joke. And it's just like, bro, I could take you guys losing if you put in a battle. You know, my team in Malta, where my father is from, I went to go watch the town game, and the team that they played against, the team is way better than them, or significantly better than them. They spent way more money than them, and they were playing a cup match. And these guys from our hometown, they, like, I watched them. They didn't win, and it was disappointing. You know, it was fucking shit. But all of us in the stands, we all said the same thing. We were like, dude, they fucking worked so hard. They battled so hard, flying into tackles, fucking running back, and, you know, and nobody was like, everybody was like, yeah, it sucks we lost, but like everybody was extremely proud of them, you know, because it was like, you could see, you just saw, like, it was like, all right, the match didn't go in our way, but like they fucking battled out there, you know what I mean? They battled, like they were dead. The players couldn't fucking breathe, and it went into extra time. The players couldn't breathe after the game was over. They were dead. They were exhausted. They were fucking limping, injured, like, you know. So, and that's just really, that's what I want to see from United. Like, that's just something like, you know, I want to see them, like, just put up a fucking a battle, man. Don't get rolled over. Don't get fucking dominated. Don't get embarrassed. Don't look like you don't know what the fuck you're doing. You know, go out there and put on a show. If we lose 2-1, we lose 2-1. At least you fucking gave it for the 90 minutes. You put in hard tackles. You didn't look like pushovers. You didn't get bullied. You didn't get schooled. You know, that's really what I want. So, yeah, listen, I hope we get it. Everybody go to sleep, because we got to get ready for the match. All right, but for real, though, I'm leaving now. All right, so everybody be good. Stay safe. We'll see you tomorrow after the game. And then we'll go from there, and I'll let you know if we're going to do another one at 8:15 p.m. UK, a new show, all right? So everybody take care. Thank you for the support. Have a good night. Stay safe. GGMU. Hopefully we get 3 points tomorrow. Let's get this win. Michael Carrick in charge versus Pep Guardiola. It's going to be a massive one. And I hope it's going to be a good one for us. So other than that, take care. Good night, guys.